All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Yeah.
Welcome to the All Sports, All Plays College Breakdown Show, Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 12 noon to breaking down. I got a special co-host today. I'm going to bring him on in. Welcome, Landon. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, Ray. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Tell everybody about yourself. I know you're on Throwing Hands and stuff like that on the ASAP network.
Yeah, I'm on Throwing Hands. I've been part of the network for a little bit now. I'm also going to be on Bring It Monday. I'm going to be hosting it. So yeah, make sure to tune into that. I'm excited to get going. I was supposed to be on last week, but we had some things get in the way. But that's all right. I'm here now. So.
Yep. So let's get ready. Let's talk about what we want to break down here today. We're going to be talking about some coaching updates here on LSU, Virginia Tech, and TCU are the big ones right now. Let's go into talking about LSU. Ed Orgeron is out after the season. They went mutual ways. I looked at some of the candidates they have. They had Jimbo Fisher, Lincoln Riley. But they just offered, I understand they just offered Lincoln Riley an 8-year, $96 million deal. So you think he's going to actually take that deal?
I think Oklahoma's definitely going to try to match it, but I don't know what's going to happen, man. It's going to be fun to watch for sure. That's a big deal for Lincoln Riley. That's a big deal, and coming to the SEC, who's obviously more proficient as far as conference goes, gets your name out there more as if he needs that. He doesn't really need that anymore. He's shown that he can coach. But I think coming to LSU would definitely put him into a completely different situation. Oklahoma, is ranked right now. They've looked okay all year, but LSU now they're sitting at 4-5, I believe, 4-6, something like that. So they're not having a good year. They need something to bounce them back, and I think they think Lincoln Riley is the solution to that. I mean, we'll see what happens. I think it's gonna be fun to watch. I couldn't tell you right now what's gonna happen because there's so many question marks.
Yeah, and Jimbo Fisher came out earlier and said that he's not willing to go back to LSU.
I don't
Like,
think
you think LSU throws that money at him?
I think they do. I think they try, but I don't think he's gonna. I don't even think he's gonna entertain it.
I mean, LSU can throw money, but Texas A&M, all the Texas schools are pretty much rich behind all the old deals and stuff like that. They can throw money back. Oklahoma could too, but will Oklahoma ever do it? Now, her interesting name on this list was Mel Tucker, the Michigan State coach.
Yeah.
You think Mel Tucker will actually leave to go to LSU out of Michigan State? I mean, he's got Michigan State running though.
He just signed a big deal with Michigan State, didn't he?
Yeah,
a 10-year, big money. It was big money, $98 million, I think.
Something like that.
So big millions in there. So that's a lot of zeros. I think he's going to stay put in Michigan State. I think he obviously is respected there enough to get $98 million for 10 years. So, I don't think he's leaving there. That's interesting though. I'm interested to see how much money they throw at him.
Yeah. Oh, he threw $96 million at Lincoln Riley, and he proved himself. You understand Michigan State. That's a little bit of link there between LSU and Michigan State. That's where Nick Saban came from.
Yeah.
Going to LSU. So that could be a little pipeline there. How about Dave Archuleta, the Baylor head coach? He was the longtime LSU defensive coordinator there.
That's going to be fun to watch too because there's going to be money thrown so many places, and we don't really know what's going to happen, right? There's going to be money thrown his way. There's going to be money thrown Jimbo Fisher's way. We know that for sure. Money's already been thrown at Lincoln Riley. They need to get some kind of plan. I don't think they have a plan. I think their plan is we're just going to throw stupid money at these different guys, and we're going to see what happens. That's what it's looking like. What's going to happen, I don't know. I'd be interested to see how much money they throw at him if they do, though.
Yeah, I mean, for LSU, they got to throw some money at some big name type coaches. Yes. And that'll be interesting, too, if Lincoln Riley does go to LSU because Oklahoma and Texas are joining the SEC in 2023. Right. So that could be a very interesting line there. And then also you got to look at it, too. They got to have somebody try to compete with Nick Saban in recruiting.
Yeah, that's facts. And Lincoln Riley is a good recruiter. We've seen, they've got a lot of big recruits. Oklahoma football has this past year. I know in the 2022 and 2023 class. So that maybe that's what LSU wants is a recruiter. I mean, we got Nick Saban in that conference, so they want to maybe compete there. I don't know. Lincoln Riley can recruit. That's for sure. I mean, Caleb Williams, who was the #1 quarterback in the class, I believe, wasn't he? 2021 class.
Yes.
Spencer Rattler was the #1 recruit in his class, so he can do it. There's no doubt about their running back, Kennedy Brooks. Is that his name? I believe he was like a top 15 recruit in his class, so he can do it. He can do it. No doubt about that.
I mean, Lincoln Riley's done it at East Carolina. I mean, he recruited some good players at East Carolina. So if he can get somebody to come to East Carolina, you sure can get somebody to come at LSU. So, let's look at it. Let's look at the next one here. The next one is Virginia Tech. There's some interesting candidates at Virginia Tech: Gary Patterson, Hugh Freeze, Shane Beamer. Now, Beamer at South Carolina, he's done pretty good at South Carolina. I mean, not what that program is leaning towards. Could he be a front runner out of all these candidates to come up there? I mean, put another Beamer up there.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he's the front runner because South Carolina is not a good football program. You know what I mean, and he's had some big wins with South Carolina. They beat Auburn last year, I believe, and now Auburn wasn't a great team last year, but they beat Auburn last year. They've had big wins over the years, and I think he needs to be the front runner for Virginia Tech. But I mean, we've heard so many names, and it's just like the LSU situation. We've heard a lot of names for Virginia Tech too. That's another situation where it's kind of like a bunch of question marks, right? It's too early to kind of know what's going to happen. But I think he needs to be the front runner if he isn't already, for sure.
Now, interesting name is Gary Patterson, the long ex-TCU coach. I mean, they can bring. I mean, he won't sweat as much as he does in Texas. I mean, because you got the cold air and the cold thing, so that might be a perfect place for him too. Now, to be surprised if Shane Beamer takes that job and then asks Gary Patterson when he would come be his defensive coordinator, that'd be interesting.
That would be interesting to watch. Yeah, that's gonna be. I think Virginia Tech job is gonna be more fun to watch than the LSU job because LSU, you kind of have an idea, like Lincoln Riley. You've got an idea Lincoln Riley's the front runner there, right? But then here we've got so many question marks. I don't even know if money's been thrown anybody's wages yet. So.
There's an interesting name on this list too. Jamie Chadwell, the Coastal Carolina Chandeliers head coach.
Yeah,
that could be an interesting move too.
I know Bill O'Brien. I've heard some talks there too. I don't know about anything being like official yet, but I mean, Bill O'Brien, who he's OC for Bama right now.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if somebody offers him some head coaching money because he's not done a bad job at Bama. I mean, he's really not done terrible. He's had some questionable calls within the red zone, but he's not done awful. Which I wouldn't be surprised if somebody throws him a little money there.
Yeah, and if James Franklin's size end up moving on too, Bill O'Brien's name could come right back at the Penn State because that's where he's from and stuff. So I mean, that could be an interesting too. You got to watch out what they're gonna do with Franklin and all that too.
Yeah.
In the situation, I know Franklin wants to stay. He's staying at Penn State right now. But his name has not been brought up, but his name has been rumored for LSU too.
Really? That's crazy. That'd be interesting too.
Talk about Hugh Freeze at Liberty. I mean, that's another coach who can get back into the into the ACC this time.
Yeah.
He could. What a situation he had at Ole Miss, and then he's reinvented himself at Liberty. I mean, he's brought that Liberty program up.
Yeah.
And then another interesting name, Bill Napier, the Louisiana coach. That could be a name of Virginia Tech right there too. I mean, he's 37-12 at Louisiana, 19-2 since the start of the 2020 season. So
that does look good there. And Virginia Tech, that's the name they need to look at because he's not obviously like LSU yet. Good, you know what I mean? LSU name yet, but Virginia Tech, like that's right there. They need to look at that for sure. The Liberty coach, I mean, like you said that he brought that up from the ground. That is the definition of from the ground up.
Yeah.
Now they've got a quarterback who's going to be a top 15 pick in the draft. You know what I mean? So that's interesting to watch too. That's another key factor they need to look at.
I mean, Hugh Freeze wasn't a bad coach. I mean, he just had a bad rep.
Yeah.
What he did at Ole Miss and stuff.
That is a big thing in college. You got to have a good, you know what I mean? Because you can't just be at Ole Miss and not, he wasn't a bad coach, like you said, but he's got a bad reps. That put him down at Liberty. Now he's been at Liberty. He's gained himself back up, kind of, and boosted himself a little bit to be in talks for Virginia Tech, and that's a big jump.
Now, Bill Napier, if he's not in this Virginia Tech talk, he could be in the Washington State talk too.
Yeah, that's fact.
There's some more college, some more openings. You got USC is going to be open. You got Washington State. So they haven't brought out any kind of list for USC or Washington State right now, and that's why we didn't put them in this category.
That's facts, yeah.
So, and the next one is the TCU job. Patterson left. So, what do we see at this TCU job? I know Deion Sanders' name has been front running everything else. So,
I think we'll see Deion Sanders. I think that's the one that I can kind of almost lock. I think Deion Sanders is going to be the next coach at TCU. Mainly because he's done really good, and that's the only name I've heard in the TCU talks. And I know he's the front runner. there. So if I had to pick one right now, I would say he's been the next coach there.
Yeah, his name's been thrown around, certain jobs, but he came out and said that he got certain. I think it's a leverage what he's saying. He's saying he's got a couple of job offers here. He's trying to leverage that pay for TCU. I bet you.
Yeah, that's. But I wouldn't be surprised if they if they what's the word raise the pay a little to get him there.
Now, if they get Deion Sanders there, will his son follow him?
That'd be interesting.
He's done pretty good at Jackson State at the quarterback position.
Yeah, but that's a big move, though. You know, that's a big. TCU plays a lot of better schools. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know for sure if it's going to happen or not. That'd be fun to watch too if he goes to TCU.
Yeah, it's good. That'd be interesting. He's got a lot of interesting stuff going around here. We don't know what James Franklin's doing. We don't know if James Franklin's trying to leverage Penn State.
Yeah.
And he wants to stay at Penn State. We don't know what kind of, these coaches like to play leverage games out here. Mm-hmm. They're trying to leverage, hey, I got a job offered here. Are you going to take me this day? Or you want me to stay here? You got to offer me this. Lincoln Riley's in the perfect position. He's already know up front he's going to get $96 million for 8 years at LSU. So now if he can counteract, if you want me to stay at Oklahoma, you're going to have to pay me this much money.
Yeah. And I think Oklahoma needs to pay him because he's shown that he can work with that team. And they've been to what? 2 college football playoffs, I believe. 2.
Mm-hmm.
But in both, they've been beat in the semifinal round. They never made it to the championship. So that's something to watch. That's been with who? Baker and Jalen Hurts. Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts. They've made it.
Yep.
And then with Baker Mayfield, they got beat by Georgia in overtime. And then with Jalen Hurts, they got beat by Joe Burrow and the LSU Tigers by quite a bit.
Yeah.
But that's Joe Burrow and the LSU Tigers. That team was so good.
I think the way they made that LSU team work so bad is the way that the offensive coordinator. It had an interesting story about when Joe Burrow was there and Chase and all them were there.
Mm-hmm.
They took Joe Burrow and threw him in a barn, and somebody had a rope tied to a door, swing the door open, made Burrow throw the ball out the door, not even looking at his receivers whatsoever, and having the receivers catch. That's why I made that team so special. That's another two. He's the offensive coordinator at Carolina. Will LSU try to bring him back?
I don't know. He worked some magic there, didn't he? So
yeah, he had the door. He had the door swinging open and had Burrow standing inside of a barn and throw the ball out the door. But these guys tried to catch in these tight windows. It worked pretty good.
It did. But the thing about Joe Burrow, and then who's our quarterback now? Brennan.
No, it's Mac Johnson. He
got hurt.
Brad Johnson's son.
That's right. Yeah. So Brennan, his name's something like. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The lefty, he's really bad. He's not good. With Joe Burrow though, he's like raw talent. He was like a once in a generation. You know what I mean? Like kind of like Andrew Luck type talent.
Right.
So I think it'd be interesting to see if he could work it again, work that magic, and make another Heisman winning, national championship winning #1 overall pick. That if he can do that, then he deserves to be like considered a magician.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're going to go from the coaching talk. We're going to go straight into our Saturday's breakdown games. The first one I want to go off with is the Penn State Rutgers game. This game is at noon Eastern time at Beaver Stadium in State College, Pennsylvania. Big Ten Network. Penn State comes in at 6-4. Rutgers come in 5-5. I mean, Penn State started off hot, and then all of a sudden with that loss to Illinois, kind of is that a little bit of downplayed here in that 9 overtime game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do we see here? Do we see Penn State getting back on the winning side against Rutgers, or will Rutgers finally, under Graciano, finally get that first notch win over a big program?
I think Penn State will win this game. I think Penn State's just had more big wins. You know, they've only got 6 in the column, 4 in the loss, and they've not been in the win column in a while. They got beat by Auburn, beat by Penn State. So I think Penn State will win it. I think they're playing with a chip on their shoulder because they started off so hot and people were talking so highly of Penn State, and then they just kind of like they were on a constant decline. They still are on that constant decline. So it was after that loss to Illinois, it just like something clicked, and it was like maybe we're not as good as everybody says we are. Let's lose a couple games, but they need to play with a chip on their shoulder. I think they go out and they beat Rutgers this week.
Yeah. Penn State is 6-4 with James Franklin. Also, they've been mentioned here that some people are mentioning that James Franklin is being talked about for every big head coaching job that is open. Yes. But there's a big problem if their 5th loss in 6 games, especially against mediocre Rutgers team. So that's something that James Franklin needs to watch out for in this game. I mean, if you look at it here, Rutgers offense is struggling 300 yards, and it has run the ball. They run the ball to win. The team is 3-0 when they get in 200 yards. Well, Penn State give up 200 yards on defense in the rushing game. That's going to be the key.
That's the key. That's the key to victory for Rutgers is you got to pound the run game and hope Penn State can't stop it. And that's the thing. I think Penn State stops the run, but if they can't, I mean, you might as well just go ahead and take that as a loss for Penn State because that's how Rutgers wins. You said it. You said it best. So that's the key to victory for Rutgers, if you will, because they win by the run game. They live or die by the run game. So if that's working Saturday, Penn State's going to lose 5 out of the last 6. So, and that's crazy to think about, because Penn State's always that program that we talk about is like underrated almost. They don't get enough love, but now we're looking like what is going? Are they getting too much love? Are we hyping up a little too much? And I think if they lose to Rutgers, then that definitely proves that point even more. But I think they'll stop the run. Yeah, I think they'll stop it. And Rutgers is too one-dimensional to play a team like Penn State and win. Like I said, they live or die by the run. So,
yeah, I mean, Penn State used to be the highly taught up Penn State with Joe Paterno there, and then he left and got fired. Really got fired. Over the situation that was horrible there. But Franklin's came in and has done a pretty good job to keeping them above water here. Is Franklin that coach to take Penn State to the next level? That's going to be the question.
I mean, I think this season has shown no. And I'm interested to see if at the end of the season, given they might lose this game, they might lose it. The rest, they might just lose out. You never really know what's going to happen with Penn State, but what's going to happen with the head coaching job, because his name, like you said, is being thrown around with big schools. So what's going to happen there? Like, is that just going to disappear overnight? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a big thing to look at. He needs to be playing, or he needs to be coaching like his career is on the line, because in a sense it is. You know what I mean? Because it's either, I think with Penn State right now, it's either leave or never coach again. Or coach at little schools here and there, because I just don't know if Penn State can. I don't know what his contract is, but I don't know if they can extend it after how the season's going. With all the hype they had coming in, they were coming in as a top 10 team, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, they were up there. They were ranked in the top 10 for a while. Then they lost to Illinois, and they just kept losing. They lost to Michigan. They lost to Ohio State. I mean, they were in games. They were in games that it weren't like they were blown out. It took 9 overtimes for Illinois to win, and it took the extra two-point conversions. After the second overtime. I mean, that's just the overtime rules.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of hard, but I mean, both of those, some of the games they lost were in Penn State at Happy Valley. You know,
And
that's
that's such
toughest.
a big
That's a
deal.
tough place to play.
I mean, it's one of the toughest places to play in college football, if not the toughest place to play. When they do that wide out, man, and everybody is into it, like that is hard. And Auburn beat them there.
Yeah. Do you? I mean, if you look at it this way too, if Rutgers does come in and win, this is like the third loss at Happy Valley.
Yeah, and then that says that Penn State is in a bad spot. You know, we're sitting here talking like maybe there's a little hope, but if they get beat by Rutgers, the 5-5 Rutgers Saturday, move Penn State to 6-5. With what you said, this will be 5 out of 6 games they've lost.
Mm-hmm.
That red flags all over the place. Something is going wrong in Penn State, and I think this loss, if they were to lose Saturday, will show that there needs to be a change in something.
But if you look at it this way too, Rutgers is playing for bowl eligible.
And they're playing with a chip too. You're right. I mean, both teams have a chip. You know what I mean? So it's just who's gonna. Penn State's playing for their ego at this point. It's just, is Penn State really Penn State? You know what I'm saying? At this point, and Rutgers is playing for a legit and bowl shot. So, you know, it's
But I
gonna be
mean,
interesting.
if we look at this, if Rutgers win, Penn State 6-5, Rutgers 6-5.
Penn State and Rutgers on the same record of Rutgers. That's insane.
I mean, right now Penn State's favorite. Everybody's got Penn State winning 27-13. Penn State's score is 17. Penn State is favored by 17.5. Over and under is 47. So who are you taking in this ball game?
Penn State, but I don't think they'll win it by, what did you say, 27.5?
Yeah, it's 20.
Is that what it is?
No, 17.5.
I don't even think. I think they'll win by maybe 10, if maybe 10. Because, like I said, Rutgers is just so one-dimensional. So
I'm going with Penn State too. I mean, I think Penn State's got more better talent and got better defensive players. I think Nelson's better than what he's been in the last few games. I think he gets the ship running right again. I don't think Penn State's going to lose 3 in Happy Valley. If they do it, it's going to be some moaning, groaning right there for Franklin.
Facts.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're doing the pick'em here with Landon too. So we'll have a brand new record starting up next week. So between me and him, Dre, like my other co-host Dre, he's been signed to his work, so he has some work issues he had to take care of for the next couple weeks. So, all right. So we get that one out of the way. Mm-hmm. Since we're talking about Big Ten football, we're gonna stay right into Big Ten here. I like these. Hold on a second here. Where's the music coming from? Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. I don't know where that came from, though. Illinois versus Iowa. This game is played at Kennett Stadium in Iowa City, Iowa. This game is at 2:00 Eastern time. You can watch this game on FS1. Illinois is coming in 4-6. Mm-hmm. Iowa comes in at 8-2. So, what do you look at this ball game? Because you got two teams that like to run the football.
Yeah.
So
this is an interesting matchup because Illinois has been that team to kind of blow a team's bubble. You know what I mean? Do they come out and beat Iowa? I don't know. Iowa's looked good in some games. They've looked really bad in some games. So that's just where there's so many question marks. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they got beat by Purdue pretty handily. They got, who's their second loss? Who's Iowa's second loss?
They beat Penn State.
Was it? Oh my God.
Wisconsin, I think.
Yeah, you're right. It was Wisconsin. So is Wisconsin ranked? Yeah, they're like 15, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Iowa's in a position where this is a must-win game almost for Iowa to show that they're still an elite company that they are. Picking right now, I'm say Iowa wins this game. I don't know really what the numbers are. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Illinois wins though. Like I really hope that the prediction is not like the numbers aren't a blowout because this game's not going to be a blowout. I think Iowa wins it by 3.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it this way here, Iowa might have some change in quarterback situation. The passing game has been improved, but not like the offense is about to crank up 500 yards and 45 points, you know. Unless they get that running game going, then they can crank up some points.
Yeah.
The Hawkeyes need needs to take away to win. So they need to keep that defensive pressure and keep turning the balls over. Illinois is prone to throwing the ball over.
Yes.
The big question is Brett Bielema will not be there because he's in a COVID protocol. Would that hurt their chances with the assistant coach being the head coach for this ball game?
I mean, and that's the thing about Illinois. I want to go on one of the things you said, where you said, they've shown that they love to turn the ball over when they're passing the ball. The quarterback, he's a transfer from a big school, isn't he? Illinois starting quarterback. He's good. He's a good quarterback, but he turns the ball over too much. I think that's going to be a key. Definitely is going to be getting the turnovers. If you're Iowa, and you just got to get your run game going. Both of these teams need to just get their run game going. Illinois run game is phenomenal. If they can get that thing going, this is going to be a close one. I think they do get it going. That's why I say Iowa by 3. But I just think, I don't know, Illinois just got, if Illinois, showed more consistency throwing the ball, I would pick Illinois, but they just haven't.
Yeah. I mean, you got Wisconsin literally crushed it. They ran for 166 yards against the Hawkeyes defense. Minnesota ran 189 yards against Iowa. So if Illinois does the same thing, that's going to be another situation there. But like I said, this game is built on the running game for both teams. Both teams got to run the football. Whoever runs the football well. Iowa just gives up over 100 yards rushing per game. Illinois 300 yards in the win over Charlotte, Penn State, and ran for 185 yards, against Minnesota too. So, I mean, the 3 top rushing performers of the year, so this is going to be which defense is going to give up the most rushing yards that's going to win this ball game and the least penalties.
That's the key. I mean, I think if I had to say right now, Iowa's going to give up more rushing yards, but they're still going to win. I don't know how that makes any sense because they're both rushing ground teams, but I think Iowa throwing the ball is better than Illinois. I think it's close. They're both inconsistently awful, but I think it's going to be close. But I think Iowa's just shown time and time again they can't really stop the run consistently. And with Illinois, they're coming in with a very elite run game. So I think Illinois is going to just pound the ball, and I think Iowa's not going to be able to stop it, but I still think Iowa wins by 3. Like I said, by 3 or 6 in a low-scoring game.
I mean, Alex Penla, the quarterback that came in for Iowa, he gives them semi-balance. So they got to add an element. They got to watch out for this quarterback to throw the ball a little bit too, and so they have a little bit more consistent of a semi-balanced attack. So I mean, if they get some good passing yards going and they get that rushing game going,
yeah,
it's gonna be trouble for Illinois. Iowa's favored by 12. Some people got the score to be Iowa 23, Illinois 13. So you taking Iowa in this ball game?
I'm taking Iowa in this ball game, yeah. And I like the 23-13 prediction, but I don't know. If I had to say right now, if I had to give a score, it'd probably be like 17-13, something like that. Like I said, a 3 to 6 point game.
Yeah, I can't go away from the fourth quarter tradition at Iowa. They turn around, it just brings tears to my eyes when I watch that.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing at home. I don't think Iowa's just going to give up a home victory like that. I think they're just playing for their pride, and I think they continue, like you said, they're playing for show that they're still elite, one of the elite teams this year. So I don't see them problem going 9-2 right now. So I have Iowa also going in this ball game. So let's move on to the Pac-12, the Texas versus West Virginia game. This game's at noon. It's at Millen-Pulitzer Stadium in Morgantown, West Virginia. ESPN2 is carrying this game. Texas comes in at 4-6. West Virginia comes in at 4-6. And both teams' records are not, predictive of what their team is.
Right.
So, I mean, Texas has some beauty. I mean, Texas' downfall came in that Oklahoma game when they changed the quarterbacks and then they ran out of gas in one of their losses. But Texas has been in just about every game they played. West Virginia's been in about every game they played.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this game is up in Morgantown, West Virginia. West Virginia plays better at home this year than they do on the road. So, what do we see out of Texas and Robertson, who is one of the dynamic running backs for Texas?
Yes.
How will West Virginia stop him today?
Well, and that's the key is like it's going to be the run game again. We said it last game or the Illinois Iowa. It's going to be the run game, right? That they need to get going to win the game. Texas has got to get him going. They've got to if they want to win because they've showed time and time again they run out of gas and they throw the football. So to get him running or to get him going, you just got to pound the ball. You've got to run in between the tackles, get West Virginia's defense tired. That's the key. I think you do that the first 2 quarters. I think the first 2 quarters are low scoring. I think the key is just to get them tired. Pound the football, go out there, get the win. Do I think they get the win? I'll give you my pick in a minute. But I think the run game is you've got to pound the run if you're Texas to get the win.
I feel like Texas lost to Kansas at all teams.
Ugh.
The Jayhawks. The defense couldn't stop the Jayhawks or the Cyclones or the Bears or the Cowboys or the Sooners.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the Kansas Jayhawks. We're talking about the Iowa State Cyclones. We're talking about the Cincinnati. We're talking about the Baylor Bears. We're talking about the Oklahoma Cowboys, and we're talking about Oklahoma Sooners. But the problem with the Oklahoma Sooners, I watched that game. The problem with that Oklahoma Sooner game is it wasn't the Sooners getting Texas tired. It was Texas getting themselves tired.
Yes.
And that's the problem. It's their tradition, of them not staying in the fourth quarter and stuff like that. So to me, I'd like to see Texas start slow and then finish strong. So you can't do that in West Virginia, though.
Well, that's what I was going to say. And with the Kansas game, the line it was 14. Kansas outscored Texas 14-0 first quarter. They started slow. They outscored them 21-14 in the second quarter. But in the second half, Texas outscored Kansas 21-7 in the third quarter, and then 14-7 in the fourth. So that's a big thing to watch. It's like Texas likes to start off slow and take their time. But with West Virginia, you can't do that. You cannot. And they thought they could do it with Kansas. They couldn't. They couldn't stick with Kansas. They couldn't stick with Oklahoma. You know what I mean? It's just in Oklahoma, that was a comeback win, right? They come back.
Yeah, they were
down 21 or something, 28, something like that. So what Texas is either go on the gas pedal early and keep on the gas pedal, or just go slow and then punch it second half and hope for the best. And I think that's what you're going to have to do if you're Texas, because you can't come out in the first half gas pedal because you run out of you tire yourself. That's just how it is. West Virginia is a better football team than Kansas, I think. Obviously, I think we can both agree there. So you can't go slow, but you can't go fast either if you're Texas. It's a bad situation.
Yeah, I mean, is Texas really worried about Steve Sarkisian? I mean, we understand we got to get him time to get his players in there and stuff like that. We're playing with Matt Rule's, players and stuff like that. So I mean, you got to fill your system what you have, and then you got to build around your system. It takes about 2 or 3 years before you get all your recruits in there and run your system. So is Texas just going to give him a bye this year until he gets all his recruits, and then all of a sudden, if he keeps doing what he's doing right now, is Texas going to be ready to pull the horn on him?
I think you need to give him the bye this week or this year, because as you said, it takes a couple of years to get molded with your guys. With your coaching staff, just in a whole, So I think you need to give him the bye. But if next year and maybe the year after that he's doing like this, then he's out of there. He's got to be out of there. Texas is too good of a program. They're a football school. They're if you look at Texas sports, you think football. Excuse me. So. He's got to do better. He has got to do better. This year, they started off ranked high, I believe. They were probably top 15, top 10.
Yeah, 5 to 15, I think. I have to go back and look at the preseason.
So, and then they've dropped 6 games up to this point, and we'll see what happens Saturday. But my pick on I think West Virginia wins this game. I think they dropped to 7 losses. So,
I mean, Texas is coming in this game with 5 straight losses.
Exactly.
And so you got West Virginia on the, you got to beat West Virginia on the road. Then if they want to come bowl eligible, they have to take care of pesky Kansas State team to get bowl eligible. If West Virginia wins this game and then follow up the next game and with a victory, they are bowl eligible. So
both teams are playing for a bowl. They're both 4-6. both would be a convincing win. Sure, the records are 4-6, but it's still West Virginia, it's still Texas. So both teams are playing with the chip on their shoulder, but I just don't think Texas can pull it off.
Yeah, if you look at it too, you look at people are saying West Virginia is going to win this game 30-24. West Virginia is favored by 3. The over-under is 56.5.
I don't like that over under at all.
No. I mean, because if you get this score right now, it's 30-24. If you're trying to go 56, it's going to be under by like 2.5.
Yeah.
So I mean, this game could be way under than that. I mean, sometimes both teams have a hard time scoring, and the interesting thing here is going to be the balance of the offense. If West Virginia gets the balance of the running attack and their passing attack, and they score quick, and that could be sometimes teams score too quick and can get problems with their defense getting tired.
Mm-hmm.
So
like we saw that with Kansas last week against Texas. I mean, they had they scored 35 points in the first half, and then they retired second half, and Texas offense exploited that. But Texas defense just couldn't stop Kansas. That's just how, and Texas, they got blown out in the first half and blown out in the second half. So how is that? There's just no even ground with Texas, They can go on the gas pedal early, but then get tired. They can not, and then just not perform in the second half. Or they could just have a perfect game. You never know. That could happen too, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
Who knows?
You never know,
So you taking West Virginia?
I'm taking West Virginia.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say that the team from Austin is going to come up and take care of business today. I think they're going to stop their losing streak.
I think it's going to be close.
I think they're tired of seeing it in the papers. I think Robertson is going to be that elite running back, and I think they're going to have a hard time stopping him.
Yeah.
But once again, if they do it like they did against Oklahoma, run themselves tired, because he ran the most of that game, and they ran them tired, so he had enough in the fourth quarter. So
right. That's going to be a key, though. Is like you got to be consistent with his workload. You can't just – he's a human. You can't just run him every play, every down, you know what I mean? Yeah. He's going to get tired, whether you like that or not. So that's going to be fun to watch, though. That's going to be probably the most interesting game we talked about so far. Is going to be Texas, West Virginia, because I think it's going to be close. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to overtime. I hate that over/under 56. That's kind of insane.
Yeah, they think they're just going to light up the scoreboard on that.
Yeah,
game.
I don't.
That's kind of. I think it's kind of high myself.
Yeah, I think it is too.
All right, so we're going to move right along. We're going to go back into the Big Ten. We're going to go Michigan versus Maryland. This game is at Maryland Stadium. Used to be called Bird Stadium. They changed the name I don't know why. This game is located in College Park, Maryland at 3:30. The Big Ten Network. Michigan comes in at 9-1. Maryland comes in at 5-5. Maryland wins this game, pulls an upset. They go bowl eligible. So what do you think? You think they're going to pull the upset on the khaki pants? That's what my friend Dre calls them, khaki pants, Mr. Jim Harbaugh himself.
No, I don't think you pull the upset. I think Michigan looks really good. And Michigan's only loss because coming to Michigan State. Michigan State played a perfect game, almost, that game, a perfect second half, I'll say. So, Michigan State's good. And they beat Michigan. Michigan's in at 9-1. I think Michigan's still a good football team. They've got a top 3 draft prospect. I don't think there's any way Maryland pulls the upset. I think it's going to be a blowout.
Well, let me ask you this question. Ohio State is lurking in the background. Could this be a trap game for Michigan?
Ooh. Thinking of it that way, that brings up a bunch of different questions, but Michigan is a good football team. People are like, no, they're not. They lost Michigan State. Okay, sure. That's fine. You can slip a game, especially the committee's shown this year. You can slip a game and still get in there. Michigan needs to blow if they have any hopes of getting into that top 4, which is very rare now, because they're at 8 with 2 weeks remaining. You need to blow Maryland out. You need to beat them by 20 plus. Then you need to go and play Ohio State. I believe they're playing in Columbus this year. Could be wrong on that. You need to go there, and you need to beat them by 10 plus if you want to get into even top 5. You know what I mean? If you want to get in that top 5, top 6 conversation. That opens a whole new narrative, though, if you think of it that way. But I still don't think Maryland can pull it off, personally.
This year's game's at Big House, Ann Arbor.
It is okay. Well,
So
I
that's
mean,
gonna,
they need to be about 17 plus then.
so that's gonna be another interesting thing. Michigan's been more consistent,
Yes.
consistent this season. It hit big plays at the right time. It did just what they did late against Penn State, but its goal is to start rolling, keep on pounding away full 60 minutes. And like you said, that Michigan State game, I think both teams at Michigan and Michigan State game played perfect games.
Yes.
I mean, it just that late run, they just couldn't stop the running back at the
Yeah.
time in the fourth quarter, and then Antonio Walker, I guess he's the third or the fourth. He came out of Wake Forest University last year, and Mel Tucker scooped him up on that transfer portal.
Yeah.
I think it was a good pickup for them, and you can see what's going on with Michigan State there. The running game has been a wee bit off over the last few weeks, but it should get back rolling close to 200 yards. If Michigan gets that running game going, and then the pass game, it's a very corporate off that running attack. They have to get the running game going
Yes.
because if you look at Jim Harbaugh, he's gone to an old scheme of pro football: run the ball, pass the ball, run the ball, pass the ball. So I mean, they got good running. They got a good running back and good running game, and then the quarterback's has been not bad. Has been pretty good play.
But
So
I think he's consistent at best. That
yeah,
quarterback. I think he's not necessarily much of turnovers, but it's been a lot of inaccurate passes, bad reads. I think if they get that down, but they need to just pound the run game. I think Maryland is the perfect game to play before the Ohio State game because it's going to be good. I think they go in, like I said, and blow them out. And it's a good confidence boost to go into Ohio State. I think it's a perfect game for them. I think hopefully, if you're a Michigan fan, you need to be hoping that Michigan, the quarterback, has a really good game against Maryland. Those are like 4 touchdowns to boost that confidence as much as possible.
well, if you look at what Penn State quarterback Sean Clifford did, and Jajah Dawson in the receiving core, were great, and the Wolverines allowed 223 yards last week. That's about it for the solid passers. But I mean, you got Tyler Lock, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
His brother is a quarterback from Maryland. He could throw the ball, but the Maryland running game has been inconsistent. That's the thing. Maryland can throw the ball, but you can't run the ball.
Well, the thing
You got
about
to,
go ahead, sorry.
you got to run. You got to run. If you see what Michigan State did to them, they got to run the ball effectively.
Yes. And the thing about Tagovailoa is he can go out and have a 5 touchdown game, or he can go out and have a 5 interception game. You don't really know what he's going to do, right? He's been inconsistent.
Yeah, 7 interception game against West Virginia.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So there's you don't know what's going to happen. I think Michigan, they're going to bring the pressure. Their D line is fantastic. They've looked really good as far as pass rush goes. You pressure that dude, and I'm a Bama fan, so I love Tua, but it is what it is. His brother plays for Maryland now. He transferred out of Bama, but I think Michigan gets the win. I think they come out and they blow it up. They win big time.
And that's why I look at it here. Tagovailoa might have a few issues with picks, but he's been bombing away, hitting 70% of his throws on the year with close to 1,200 yards passing with 5 scores over the last 3 games.
Yeah, so he's looked good recently. I mean, yeah, but I mean, there's so many questions though, with him specifically, and that run game has been, as like you said, just rough. And with Michigan, we've only seen them get beat once, and when they got beat, it was because of the run game. So that makes the upset even more less likely.
And if you look at Michigan's offense, Michigan will seem like it always has the ball. It should control the clock for well over 35 minutes.
Yeah.
So keeping the Maryland's offense off the field for 35 minutes of a 60-minute game, that's kind of discrepancies there. I mean, that means they can possess the ball, they can move the ball up and down the field. They come away with field goal touchdowns. They're gonna come up with some kind of points and stuff like that. So, Michigan some people got Michigan score 34-17 over Maryland. Michigan's a 15-point favorite. 56.5 is the over and under. So are we both in agreement taking Michigan in this game?
Yes. By a lot.
So Now we're getting to the interesting one here I want to talk
Yes.
about is the Cincinnati versus SMU. Now, Cincinnati is in that top 5 category of the playoffs now. They moved in there on the recent rankings.
Mhm.
Let's go ahead and bring that recent playoff rankings up here. It's going to be scrolling at the bottom here. Cincinnati comes in at number 5, outside of that number 4 spot on the
Mhm.
thing. What does Cincinnati have to do to SMU to make them jump over like an Ohio State? They're gonna
They
have to
have
really
got to blow them out. Like it has got to be where you just want to turn the TV off if you're an SMU fan. It's got to be that bad. Um, oh, that's going to be fun to watch. And this is the one I wanted to talk about because listen, all year Cincinnati's been winning. People are like, why are they not top 4? And I've always said because they're not. We got to see them play some good opponents first. You know what I mean? SMU is a team who has been in that rankings this year. They've been in and out, in and out, in and out. They're not ranked right now. Right? They're not ranked right now, are they? I don't think they are.
no.
They're not. They've been at like the 23 is the highest they've been, I believe, and then they were at the 25 for a little bit, and then dropped down
Right.
completely.
Yeah.
So I guess this is if you will the first almost ranked opponent since he's played. So it's a big test for sure. What's gonna happen, I don't know. Um, it's gonna be fun to watch because this is Cincy's game to show that they are the real deal somewhat. But if this game is within striking distance in the fourth quarter, Cincy is not all that. Cincy does not need to be 5. I'll tell you that much right now.
Well, I mean, they beat Notre Dame
They did
at Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. You're right. You're right. Yeah, I forgot about that game. Still, I mean, but listen, that's the thing about this, and I argue this all the time in the group chat. Right? It's like they can play one good team and beat them because that's the game they have to prepare for is that one good team. But when you got teams like Georgia who plays good teams week in and week out, because the SEC, every team in the SEC is good. Okay, whether you like
Right.
every team's good. Every team will beat
Except for
SMU,
Vanderbilt.
except for Vanderbilt's just bad. Yeah, except for Vanderbilt. And Georgia, and Bama and teams like that, and Michigan and Oregon and Ohio State, every week have to prepare for a different game plan. When in Cincinnati, realistically, I don't think they did this. They probably didn't. But they can look and say, okay, week 4, they played them, I think. Week 4, we got Notre Dame. We need to be looking towards week 4 and hope that we just beat the teams we beat before them. That's really realistically, that's how they could look at it if they wanted to. I doubt they did, but that's how they got to look at it. Now SMU is a test for Cincinnati, because they've been in that rankings in and out. I think if Cincinnati even gets played close, then Michigan deserves to hop them. Michigan State deserves to hop them. I don't think Notre Dame does because Notre Dame didn't beat them, but I don't think there's any way they're better than Ohio State. And I don't like Oregon at 3, but I'm sure we'll talk about them later. I don't like Oregon at 3, but I like Cincinnati at 3 better than I like Oregon at 3, if I'm honest with you. But yeah, like I said, this is just a big test for Cincinnati. If they can go out there and win, they have to win in dominant fashion. I'm sure for them to prove anything, at least to me, they got to win in dominant fashion.
Well, if you look at SMU's offense is a bomb way offense.
Yes.
I mean, they can one pass play can score a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you look at it, SMU's offense leads the American Athletic Conference in total offense, purely because the offensive line leads the league in sacks allowed, and that all helps with the team that is scoring too. So, I mean, if you look at it this way, Cincinnati, I think they got a bad bomb on their list because they play in the was that American Conference?
All American Conference.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're playing, but they're moving into the if Pac-12 gives them the go ahead, they're moving into the Pac-12. So, I mean, that's going to give them a little bit of credit when they move into the Pac-12. But, like I said, you got to blow teams out when you got them on the schedule, these weak teams for a team that's not playing in a big Power 5 conference to get into that bowl eligible. But I think it's going to work itself out for Cincinnati if they can keep themselves at that number 5 spot, because eventually you're going to either have Georgia beating Alabama in the SEC championship game, or Alabama's going to beat Georgia. So, I mean, the SEC either way could possibly, if Georgia beats Alabama, I think Alabama's gone out of the playoff picture with the 2 losses. But if Georgia beats Alabama, if Alabama beats Georgia, then I think 2 of the SEC teams are going to go in because Georgia is that good.
Do
So
you
I
think?
mean,
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that if Georgia were to lose to Alabama in the SEC championship, do you think Bama's won?
they're the number 2 spot. They're probably gonna put Bama 1,
Yeah,
and then put Georgia at number 2.
yeah. Which
I
I
mean,
just like I love. I'm an Alabama fan, but I don't agree with that. And I think wholeheartedly, I think Bama's going to beat Georgia in the SEC championship. I wholeheartedly think that because I don't think Georgia's defense can, not defense, Georgia's offense can keep up with Bama's offense. They both have good
but
defenses.
the question is,
Could Bama score
Georgia
with
has
Bama's
that
defense?
Georgia has that player at that nose tackle has not
Jordan
been blocked
Davis.
all year long, and
Yeah,
teams are throwing double teams at him, triple teams at him, and he's busting through the middle.
but Bryce Young is like he is so good under pressure. Like I've watched obviously every single Bama game, right? Every time he gets pressured, he rolls out. And the thing I love about him is that he always keeps his eyes downfield. Somebody's gonna pop open.
But what you're saying is, yeah, he's good against the pressure, but they haven't. Alabama has not been pressured up the middle like the way Georgia likes to pressure you up the middle.
Right.
Because when you get pressure up the nose guards, that leaves your defensive. If your defensive ends are playing their zone, if he starts rolling out and they play up the field and he rolls out because of pressure up in the middle, he's gonna get sacked because they're up the field already.
Yeah. The thing about Bryce Young though, he keeps his eyes down. He doesn't look to run, so he might take a couple steps to get away from Jordan Davis long enough to find Mechie over the middle of the field wide open. Do you see
Yeah,
that?
but
I don't think Georgia's defense can keep up with Bryce Young being like that. I don't think Georgia's offense. I don't think Stetson Bennett can keep up with Bryce Young. I don't think. I don't. I think Bama's the better team. I think Bama just slipped in Texas A&M. I think that's all it was. You don't think
Nah,
so?
no, I think Georgia's got a better defense than Alabama.
And well, let's I'm gonna say this too. I think if Alabama loses, I think they're still the four. And I think people are gonna hate it, but I think I would not be surprised.
And I'm gonna tell you, last time Georgia had a good team, Alabama had to change quarterbacks to beat them.
Well,
The starting quarterback never beat them.
They beat them though.
Yeah, but they had to change quarterbacks too.
They
twice.
They beat
Twice.
them though. They beat them though.
And it was so funny because you had
Kirby Smart is levels under Nick Saban. Nick Saban always has Kirby Smart's number. I'm not worried. People are like,
Jimbo Fisher's the only assistant coach to beat him.
Jimbo Fisher has Nick Saban's number. He's the only coach in America that's got his number.
Well, we get off topic here. So, Cincinnati here, to me, Cincinnati has to blow at SMU,
Yes.
but I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a closer game what people think. And the reason is because SMU can score and they can score quick, but the defense with SMU is questionable. So that means, hey, Cincinnati can score too. I think this could be a shootout.
Yeah, I agree. And I love everything you just said. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. We've seen Cincinnati. They're on oh my gosh, restart. They're not able to blow out Tulane. They're not able to blow out like these other teams like that. Like Tulane was so close to beating them, but the dude just decided he was going to reach over the line and fumble. That's just what I mean. It is what it is. If that's Tulane, that's an unranked team beating an unranked team. That's all it is. Cincinnati should not have won that game. You know what I mean? So.
And the Temple blowout. The only Cincinnati blowout was against Temple, 52-3.
Yeah. So that's why I'm not high on Cincinnati. That's why I argue everybody on Facebook and in comments and what it is with saying that Cincinnati's better than Alabama, and I just.
If you look at it, SMU couldn't do things against Houston or Memphis, but allowing 864 yards passing in 2 games. And it's if they do that to Cincinnati, they could be a blowout, but
it could be.
Then again,
obviously it could be, but
they saying Cincinnati is going to win 45-28. The line is 11. Cincinnati's favored by 11. The over-under is 65 points in this ball game. So who you got?
Cincinnati by 6.
Yeah, I say Cincinnati probably win, but I think they win by 10 at the most.
By 10? Yeah, at the most.
At the most.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I like that. I don't think it's going to be a blowout either.
So our next game we're going to talk about is this Nebraska versus Wisconsin game, and I've been on Nebraska's butt all season long. Mm-hmm. It's just the year Scott Frost is going to get fired, but they said they're bringing Scott Frost back for another year. So I think he's safe This game is at 3:30. It's at Camp Randall Stadium in Madison, Wisconsin on ABC. Nebraska comes in at a 3-7, but that 3-7 is not very addictive of how they play.
Right.
At 3-7 is because they had some unlucky breaks and some key turnovers and key moments of games. Wisconsin comes in at 7-3. Wisconsin's been looking better since that first game against Penn State, and they had that big win against Notre Dame beat them too, I think.
Yeah, they had a big win against. They beat Iowa. That was a big win. I mean, Wisconsin's been looking good though, because they were really hyped up going into this season, and then they just kind of like fell off. And now they're 15.
So they say the coach. They said Nebraska coach's situation is settled for now. Scott Frost is getting another year at least. Like I said, there's no bowl game to play for them. Maybe that's a whole conversation at a different day for the Huskers. Can they get to 5-7? But since there's no bowl game in there, their job is now to play the role of a spoiler. I don't know who they're spoiling in this ball game.
Yeah,
I mean, because Wisconsin's already bowl eligible.
Right, there is no significance to this game whatsoever. None. Because Nebraska's not going to get the bowl, but Wisconsin already is going to get the bowl, but Wisconsin's not good enough to be top 4. You see what I'm saying? There's literally zero significance to this game.
I mean, if you look at it, this might be yet another loss for Nebraska's program, but it's not going to play all that poorly. I mean, both teams likes to run the football, and Martinez could be a difference maker for Nebraska if he doesn't turn the ball over. He has a key of turning the ball over in situations. In key situations. That's why some of these games that the Huskers lost should have been wins, until they did. So the Badgers defense is without one of their best linebackers, and they're thin at running back, and their best rusher, Chaz Malusa, who came out of Clemson last year, is injured. So they lost one of the key linebackers on the defense and lost one of their best running backs on the offense. What does it take for Wisconsin to win this game today?
I mean, they both like the run. They've got to pound the run. They've got to take pressure off the passing game. I think that's a big key in college football. In this game specifically, you've got to have your run game going because your college quarterbacks, they're good. Some of them are good. Some of them are elite. But those elite quarterbacks need some pressure taken off of them. So Wisconsin, the key to victory today is to get the run game going.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it this way, historically allowing 216 yards per game, Wisconsin is walking into 2011 Alabama territory when it comes to the best defense of the last 20 years. It starts with a linebacking core that is playing among the best in America and should swarm all over Adrian Martinez and anything like Nebraska's offense tries to do on the ground. Obviously, Berlin Allen showed the 17-year-old true freshman quarterback has rumbled for over 7 yards per carry with 6 straight 100 yards days over this winning streak. So they upgraded the quarterback to a freshman who's 17 years old.
That's crazy, ain't it?
So, I mean, they are comparing this Wisconsin defense to an Alabama defense back in 2011 territory.
Yeah.
I mean, I seen them. I mean, Wisconsin defense is pretty good. The offense was lagging a little bit. They got this Berlin Allen show. The 17-year-old has come out of nowhere. I mean, he's got no pressure on him. I mean, he's only a freshman, so he's just starting his career out. This could give him significant confidence on the future. So, see, he's only 17. Can Nebraska's defense fool this freshman enough to turn him over?
I don't think so. I don't think so because Wisconsin's got a good run game, and that probably does not make any sense. But what I'm trying to say is it takes pressure that Nebraska might give off of him completely. I don't think Nebraska can do anything to take him out of the equation. I think he's played good enough to show that he can win against good teams. So why can't he against Nebraska? So I don't think Nebraska's going to do anything significant to throw him off his game.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've been on Nebraska since day one of the season, and I thought Scott Frost was going to be gone after this year. They give him one more year to try to redirect everything. To me, I think he made a to me, I think he made a mistake go leaving University of Central Florida because he had a good chemistry there. He was undefeated.
Yeah.
And he thought he could go to Lincoln, Nebraska. It's a whole different animal and different things. You got to fight more recruits and stuff like that. So to me, Wisconsin's favored 9.5 in this ball game. And they said Wisconsin should win 27-16. So who are you taking in this ball game?
I'm taking Wisconsin, and I like that line too. This is like the only one I actually like. They've been really rough for today's games, but yeah, I like Wisconsin to win this by about 10. Yeah.
Yeah, it's playing in Camp Randall. You're not playing in Lincoln, Nebraska. So I mean, Camp Randall's a different animal. When they come in that fourth quarter, the whole stadium starts bouncing. That's a different animal down there. So I think it's going to be closer than what people think. I think Wisconsin will win. I think it could be 21-17 final.
Okay.
All righty. So we're going to move right along. We're going to go into the ACC here. We're going to Virginia. Plays Pitt at Heinz Field in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. On ESPN2, Virginia comes in at 6-4, 8-2. Brandon Armstrong for Virginia hasn't played in the last 2 games due to injury. You've seen Virginia has some effects on Virginia, some effects it didn't. So what do you see in this ball game between Pickett and the Pitt's team?
He's been in Heisman talk. Pittsburgh, they've looked good. They're sitting at 18. This is another game that kind of doesn't really have much significance. I think Virginia is not. They could get a bowl game. Pittsburgh is eligible, correct? Already. So this is a game where, it's not as insignificant as the Nebraska-Wisconsin because Virginia, are they still alive as far as bowl talks go? So I think that we definitely could see a Virginia team with a chip on their shoulder because they want to get in that bowl talk. Virginia wants to be a bowl team. They think they are a bowl team. So I think I think they need to come out with a sense of urgency. And beating number 18 in Pitt would be a huge win for Virginia as far as bowl games go.
This is a significant, and you say it's not too much. It is a little bit too much. It's a little bit significant for Pitt.
Yeah.
Because if Pitt loses today, they have to go into the last game of the season to win to become ACC Coastal Division champions.
Yeah.
So
I didn't think about that.
So if you look at it this way here, I mean, I'll bring up the ACC records here in a minute. The thing is, if Virginia Armstrong if he struggles or if he can't go, Virginia doesn't have enough offense to keep up with Pitt. Now, if Brandon Armstrong goes and plays great, then Virginia can get Pitt all the trouble they want. Because, I mean, if you look into the loss of Virginia to North Carolina, Armstrong still had over 600-some yards.
Yeah.
Almost 600-some yards passing. So, I mean, and that game came down to, they were winning, and then Carolina came up, and they won by 2 touchdowns at the end. But still, the dude was throwing the ball all over the place.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Armstrong is a key factor for Virginia. If he can go, that gives another element that Pitt defense has to worry about.
Yeah.
Too. So
that's a big thing. Is that's the key for Virginia is getting that passing game going for sure. He's back now, so. And I like what you said, how they can go as far as this team or as far as the quarterback can take them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If he wants to play good, then this team will play good. That's just how it is. And obviously, you're like, well, he's a quarterback. Well, yeah, he is, but he's so significant to that offense.
And if you look at it too, if you look at this situation here, Virginia does have a wide receiver who's 6'7", and they have not taken advantage of him at all. I mean, they have no corners can match up with him.
Yeah.
You throw the ball up high. What a quarter going to do?
Nothing.
Couldn't do nothing to him. I mean, they had no cornerbacks in the league that is over 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah.
So this guy's 6'7". I mean, he towers over everybody. So if they get in that red zone, all they got to do is flick it up to him. That should be a touchdown every time.
Should be, yeah. I mean, but you never know. With that though, I mean, corners are so insanely athletic. They can jump up and be. They have some verts that are insane. A lot of corners do. Which that's the thing though. That's just a lot of questions too. Like why hasn't he been taken
A factor.
advantage? Well, a factor, yeah. Like so maybe he shows today. I mean, you know what I mean. You never really
Yeah.
know. So
I mean, Pitt does have a pass killer pass rush,
yes,
but the secondary did give up a whole lot of yards in defense and can get bombed on. Miami was able to roll up 490 yards total offense, and the pass defense close to 500 yards over the last 2 weeks. So I mean, if you look at Pitt in the North Carolina game, Pitt was up, and the North Carolina came back and they took them in overtime, and then the Hells. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so I mean, if you look at that situation too, so
I think I lost you there for a minute.
yeah.
What did you say just now? So I can go off that.
I said that if you look at Pitt, if you look at the Pitts, if you look at Pitt in North Carolina, the Hells and Floodgates came out. You know, Carolina carrying in overtime. I mean, they see what they can do with Howell at quarterback. If Armstrong is there, that could be another situation that Pitt could be worried about too.
Yeah, I think Pitt does not need to go into this game thinking they have a win because they do not. There's no doubt about that. They do not have a win. It's going to be hard to get that win. I got a question. Does Virginia put Pittsburgh on upset alert?
It could be if Armstrong is playing. Now, if the backup quarterback, I don't want to put him on upset alert.
And if I agree. If Armstrong's healthy, I think Virginia beats Pittsburgh.
Because some reports is good because they put a score up here. One guy came across, put a score up here. If Pitt 34, Virginia 30 with Armstrong playing, Pitt's 38, Virginia 17 without Armstrong.
Right, yeah, and that's so accurate because he is such a key and he's so valuable, So, I mean, if I had to pick, I'm just going to say he is healthy, and I think Virginia beats Pittsburgh.
So you're going with Virginia?
I'm going Virginia.
I don't know because this could be a game time decision. So, I mean, you don't know who you got to prepare for. I think it's a smart idea to keep it game time decision for them. But like I said, I think I'm going to have to go with Pitt, the home team, because I don't know the stability of Brandon Armstrong. And this could be a fool's goal just to try to say he's going to be back. I think he'll be back in time for a bowl game, but I don't think he'll be back in time for this game.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with Pitt in this one. So, let's go right ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and let's take a commercial break right here for a few minutes from words from our lovely merchandise people here on the ASAP Sports Network. This is the All Place, All Sports College Breakdown. Ray Cruz and Landon coming to you here on this Saturday morning. We're always here on Saturday mornings between 9 to 12 to carry you all the way up to kickoff time. We'll be right back.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
Welcome back to the All Sports, All Plays Network, the College Breakdown, the most premier college breakdown show on the social media TV platform. Thanks for Fox D Network and the ASAP television platform that we're on today. Landon, I think this is your first show on the platform itself here. So,
exciting.
you're being broadcast out to a lot of millions of people here, you know.
Yeah, it's exciting.
So we're gonna move right along into this game here. We're gonna go to the UAB versus University of Texas at San Antonio. This team come out of nowhere. This Texas and San Antonio.
Yeah.
They're ranked number 22 in the nation,
Mm-hmm.
and they weren't even ranked at the beginning of the
Let me tell
season.
you though, I do not believe the hype in UTSA, and I'll tell you why. Okay, I'm gonna tell you why. Once this team can beat a ranked opponent, maybe I'm there. Maybe I'm there. We'll see. But people are like, well, this team's undefeated. Why are they not top 10? Because they're UTSA. They're UTSA. Who's UTSA? They literally were second in their division last year. Right behind UAB. That's funny. So, I mean, like, I just don't understand. They barely beat Memphis. Barely. And I hate people who say, like, barely this, barely that. But we're talking about UTSA. I think it's valid.
Now the question is, if they keep winning and Cincinnati stumbles,
Okay.
could they? You know, the highest out of the Power Five conference gets to go to the New Year's 6-day bowl game.
So you're asking, does UTSA get in if Cincinnati slips?
Yeah, because you got
I
if
mean, I would think so, especially if UTSA can win out and go undefeated.
yeah,
Because then it'd be other than Georgia, unless we'll see what happens there. But
yeah.
Not only the undefeated team. If you say Cincinnati slips,
But I mean, if you look at that barometer there, that's a key for UTSA to keep winning as their advantage to keep moving up in the polls. If Cincinnati stumbles, that one stumble could take Cincinnati out of the top 10 all the way part down to the top 20, and they're sitting at number 22, so they could pop up there.
I think if they beat UAB this week, then and Cincinnati were to stumble, because we said it's very possible Cincinnati can stumble this week. Then UTSA needs to move up into the top 15. That's my opinion. That's what I think. I don't think UTSA is a top 10 team. I don't think even if they went out, they're a top 10 team. Because I just think they don't play anybody. There's no reason they should be a top 10 team. Now, next year, this team's good. Okay, let's give them some more ranked opponents. Maybe we talk. But they just don't play anybody. So, I just don't believe the hype. I don't believe the hype. I think they'll play their bowl game. They'll play, right now, they'd probably play like a San Diego State, an NC State, maybe a Utah. And I think either of those teams beat them. Handily. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, I don't know, man. It's just, with UTSA, it's a lot of question marks. Because if you're like, well, the record's 10-0. Okay, well, you have UT Martin, who is leading the Ohio Valley Conference right now. And I used this yesterday. You have UT Martin, okay? 9-1. Why are they not in talks? Because they don't play anybody. There's your answer to that. Right. That's why UTSA does not need to be up there either. That's just my opinion with that, though.
Yeah. And you talk about UAB, they took the football program away. They brought it back. They took it away again. They brought it back. There's been up emotional about UAB. I'm happy they brought it back because it's just UAB, University of Alabama, Birmingham. They're 7-3, 5-1 in conference play. This game could be for conference rights here.
Yes.
If UAB can upset UTSA. Yes, we call it an upset because they're ranked.
We have to call it an upset, but
yeah, they're 10-0, 6-0. They've been playing pretty good. The quarterback battle here, D Hopkins is 106 for 107, 1,723 yards, 11 touchdowns, 40 interception. But if you look at UTSA quarterback Frank Harris, he's 190 out of 284, over 2,000 yards, 2,306 yards. He has 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. So he doesn't turn the ball over much. The running back is a big advantage for running backs because Sean McCormick has carried the ball over 230 yards for 1,150 yards, 11 touchdowns. UAB's running back is 145 carries for 945 yards and 10 touchdowns. So that's a little bit of a, tongue there right there for the running backs and passing game. But the receivers, Zach Franklin is going to be the big-time receiver for UTSA. He's recorded 58 receptions for 750 yards and 8 touchdowns. And Prince is for UAB. He's 29 receptions for 571 yards and 7 touchdowns. So that to me, he's a big play type receiver for UAB. So who you think? And right now, the matchup procrastinator for ESPN's got UTSA 70% to 29% to win this ball game.
I guess UTSA will win, but I mean, it proves nothing. I mean, and if UAB wins, I mean, hey, I'll be here saying, "Told y'all so." You know what I mean? But I think UTSA will win it. I think it'll be close. I don't think it'll be a blowout because truly they've had 2 blowout wins this year, and it's been against Rice and Lamar. Like I thought Lamar was an NFL quarterback. I didn't even know Lamar was a college. So, there's the significance there.
Rice, UAB lost to Rice 30-24. And then
UAB. Oh, I thought you were talking about UTSA.
Yeah, USA has blown out UTEP. Was 44-23. Louisiana Tech was 45-16. Rice was 45-0. And they barely just got past Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers, 52-46.
And they barely got past Memphis, too, 17-24, I believe.
Yeah.
So, that's what I'm saying. It's like this team is not all that, guys. I mean, sure, they're blowing out unranked teams. Congratulations. Alabama beat New Mexico State by 56 last week. We're going to really talk about that. So that's what I'm saying. Sure, UTSA will get this win, but it's just another unranked opponent to add to their ledger. Congratulations. I don't know what you want me to say.
But they did play Illinois.
They did play Illinois, and they beat Illinois. But if your best win is Illinois, who is 4-6 and unranked.
But look at Illinois, who Illinois has beaten too. They beat up. They beat Penn State, who was a ranked team.
Penn State's a good team.
So
I mean, it is what it is, though. That's like saying if Texas A&M were to beat Georgia, then Georgia doesn't. You know what I mean? That's what you know what I mean. So
I got you.
So I think UTSA wins it.
So you got UTSA.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go the other way here.
You going?
I'm gonna play devil's advocate. I'm going UAB on this one. Let's look at this closing out. Let's look at Syracuse and North Carolina State.
Yep, this is a good one.
This game is played at Carly Fielding Stadium in Raleigh, North Carolina, on the ACC network. Syracuse is 5-5. NC State comes in at 7-3. Now, my question to you is: will North Carolina be overlooking Syracuse for that North Carolina Tar Heel game?
And that's what I was gonna say. Is maybe they're not looking at Syracuse as an opponent here, because they're like, why would we do that whenever we got North Carolina next week? We could show we're really all that. Are they sleeping on Syracuse here? They're sitting at number 20. North Carolina would be a big game to win for them. That's a big question. Will they overlook Syracuse? I don't think so. I think they are going to take this game seriously. They're going to have to if they want to stay ranked, because we've got a lot of teams up and coming. So with that being said, I don't think they overlook Syracuse. I think NC State goes out and gets the win. Now, don't get me wrong, Syracuse is going to put up a fight because it's Syracuse. I don't know why, but every time Syracuse plays a good team in basketball or football, they always put up a fight. I don't care what it is. So, yeah, I think Syracuse plays it close, but I think NC State gets the win. Playing at home too. That's another thing.
Yeah, if you look at this here, if you look at the running back Sean Taylor and quarterback Garrett Snyder going off, the Orange led the ACC in rushing with 237 yards per game, and then the game last week against Louisville, the Orange only threw for 46 yards and run the game. Couldn't do anything other than Tucker going at bed. Everything crashed in a 41-3 loss to Louisville. The common point for NC State was Louisville. Louisville gave NC State a fight all the way up to the end of that in the game. I think it was in Carter Fielding Stadium. Yeah. So I mean that. To me, I mean, NC State defense has got a lot of injuries on it. They lost their 2 top linebackers, Pat Wilson and Isaac Lamore, but they have stepped up. They stepped up and stuff like that. So we got to see what we're gonna have to see for NC State is they still got the quarterback O'Leary. They still got the running. They still got the running back, two-headed running back. The one running back. I think it was Hart. was Bam Knight. He got banged up but came back into that game. In the but came back into the game of in the Wake Forest game and the loss to Wake Forest. So I mean, to me, the double-headed running sword for NC State is going to take care of itself. The quarterback has got to go. Mazi is good, and you got Walker who plays inconsistent for NC State. And sometimes he has big catches, sometimes he has small catches. Mm-hmm. So if the NC State gets a running game going and the passing attack going, and their special team, don't forget the special team because Bam Knight runs that special teams, and he had a return back for over 100 yards against Wake Forest last week too. So, how do you see the Orange? How do you see NC State and the Orangemen? How do you see the Orange play their offense if they only got 46 yards and they lost 41-3?
I mean, well, it's got to be a bounce back, right? And if you can come back and bounce back against NC State, who, like you said, is injured, but they're also number 20, that's a big thing. So they got to play with that chip too. It's like we got to come back from this. We got to play better, and it would show if they could come out and play good against the defense. Sure, they're injured, right? But still, that would show something. So if you're NC State, or not NC State, excuse me. If you're Syracuse, you got to come out and say, we had a very underwhelming game last week. We need to turn it around, play better against a ranked opponent to show, maybe we deserve to be up there, So I think it would be a big win for Syracuse if they could pull it off. But their offense, 46 yards, that is pathetic. That's awful. That's like what most teams get on one drive, So it's just, you got to look at it that way.
But I mean, if you look at NC State too, they got that game against North Carolina looming. They're 0-2 the last 2 years against North Carolina. Their quarterback O'Leary has not finished the season until this year. I mean, if he gets past this game and gets to the North Carolina game, that'd be the first time he's been to the last game of the season in his career. In his career, I think he got hurt the last 2 years. So if Syracuse somehow get a pass rush going against NC State and put Larry in a little bit of trouble here, but the offensive line has done better this year than they have last year against North Carolina State, keeping them upright more times. They got a big left. I think they got a big left tackle that's projected to go high in the first round in the NFL draft. So does North Carolina get the running game going and keep O'Leary healthy enough to finish this game out?
Yeah, I think they do. And like I said, I think NC State wins the game. I think they can get that running game going and keep them healthy. And, beat a Syracuse team who is down right now, So, I think we for sure see NC State get the win.
Yeah, I got NC State winning this ball game because I want them to win this game so their fans will stop talking to me saying, I want them to come in healthy. I want them to come in with O'Leary because the last 2 years they didn't have him. That's why they say they lost to us, blah, blah, blah. I want him to be healthy. I want him to come in this ball game. I want North Carolina to go into Carla Fielding Stadium again and beat them like we did the first time, when O'Leary was out. We beat them 42-21 or something like that. So I want him to come in healthy. I got NC State winning this ball game. I got them winning it big. I think it's going to be 45 to probably about 3 again.
Yeah, so. I agree. So
the projection in NC State is favored by 11.5. Yeah. They say NC State is going to win 34-20. I think it's going to be a blowout. I think O'Leary's going to go off, and I think the running back's going to go off. It's just going to be all that stuff. So. We got him there.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
Welcome back to the All Sports, All Plays College Breakdown. I'm Ray and Landon with you. Just let you know this game, this is being taped early due to some family issues I have going on this weekend, so I won't be able to do it on Saturday. So we went on ahead and taped it early. This is the pregame show premiere from 9 a.m. till 12 o'clock kickoff time. So, Landon, let's get back into this thing here. Let's go ahead and pick. How about the Georgia? How about the Georgia and Georgians and a Charleston Southern game that's going to be played? So who you think
So
is going to win this game?
I think we can agree on this game, right? I think we both got Georgia winning this game. Georgia's looked very dominant over the year. They've been dominant against every opponent. There's not been a close game yet. Georgia's looking like that number one team. They have been all year. You know, we talked about it earlier. We talked about how Georgia's got that insane pressure up the middle in between the tackles. Their nose guards or their nose guards are so good. Like Jordan Davis, for example, people are saying Heisman, defensive Heisman winner, whatever. But yeah, so Jordan Davis is going to lead that defense, and they're just going to shut them down. I wouldn't be surprised. There will be 0 points on the scoreboard for Charleston Southern. So give me Georgia by probably like 30 or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the score would probably be. I think they probably hit 65. Maybe
Yeah,
if they don't hit 65, they probably took the starters off at halftime.
yeah. I think the starters will be pulled at halftime.
So, all right. How about Iowa State and Oklahoma? Who do you have in
Ooh,
this game?
okay. This is interesting. So this is one that I actually have circled like on for me to look at, because we got Oklahoma at 13, but then we have Iowa State who has beat Oklahoma State, I believe, right, this year so far.
Yes.
And Oklahoma State is still ranked 9, I believe. So this is an interesting game. We have Oklahoma, coming off the loss. Um, so a big thing for them is going to be I want to see who starts at quarterback because I have no idea who's going to start because they pulled Caleb Williams last week, put Spencer Rattler in. That's just a mess there at quarterback. So don't really know what's going to happen there. If I had to pick right now, I'm going to say Iowa State to beat Oklahoma. I think it's going to be interesting because that quarterback situation is what I'm watching. And Iowa State also, I mean, they went in as a favorite against Oklahoma State, beat them. I'm sure Oklahoma's the favorite right now in that, but I think Iowa State will beat Oklahoma this week.
I mean, you got to understand, Iowa State came in with all the hype too,
Yeah,
and
facts.
they haven't lived up to the performance the last few
Mhm,
weeks. So, I mean, I think Campbell's got that ship running in the right direction.
mhm.
I kind of agree with you on that. The quarterback issue, the quarterback situation with Oklahoma is up in the air. Who are they going to put,
Yep.
Rattler or Williams? I don't know. So, I like Iowa State. Give me Iowa State on this one too.
Mhm.
I think Oklahoma's in a little ray of shame right now, and they got a lot of pressure too because now Lincoln Riley's
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
been going around to different schools and being shopped. So
Facts.
LSU. So they got a little bit of play for there on that one. How about peer review A&M versus Texas A&M? The battles of the A&Ms.
Texas A&M, man, they look good. They come in with a lot of hype too over the season. I'm pretty sure they were a top 10 team. Definitely didn't live up to it. I'm pretty sure they lost week 1. People were talking about how that defense couldn't hold anybody. Then they beat Alabama and then started going on a little winning streak, which was fun to watch for sure when I were here. And we got them playing in unranked. They're sitting at 16, I believe, right now. So I think Texas A&M wins the game. I'm sure it's at Texas A&M, isn't it?
Yes,
Which is one of the
Kyle
hardest
Field.
places. It's one of the hardest places to play. It's one of the biggest college stadiums. It'll be a packed house, I'm sure. Texas, give me Texas A&M in that.
Okay, I got Texas A&M too. Peer review ain't got no chance going to Kyle
Yeah,
Field. I mean, it takes a special team to go in Kyle Field. I mean,
yeah,
Alabama didn't. Alabama pushed them to the limit. And
yeah.
they didn't come out with the victory at Kyle Field. So, Kyle Field has been like a home of the 12th man in college. They got the home of the
Yes.
12th man in Seattle. So this is the college version of the 12th man, and it's brutal
Yeah, it
there.
is brutal.
So
It's insane to watch. And it's just insane to watch like the crowd noise and how it really gets to every one of the teams that go in there. Nobody can figure it out. Like
yeah,
Bama tried to run a silent count. Silent count didn't work. Penalties all the time. They just could not. Nobody can figure out how to play there. It's kind of insane to watch.
yeah. How about Tennessee State versus Mississippi State?
Mississippi State is coming in at number 25, as you can see there on the bottom. Mississippi State's an interesting team because they either play really good one week or really bad one week. Um, Mississippi State has been on a run though. They've been winning. They're hot. I'm gonna take Mississippi State in this one.
Uh, this week's a lot of us picking about the same teams because it's like good and close to the end of the season, and you got all the like the SEC plays their cherry picking games about
Yes.
this time
Yeah.
time of the season. So
I mean, New Mexico State.
yeah. Speaking of New Mexico State and Kentucky,
Kentucky's been looking rough. But New Mexico State's also like 1-8 or something like that, 1-9. So it's a no-brainer to me. I'm gonna go Will Levis and Kentucky to lift up and beat New Mexico State, come back from a couple of losses,
yeah,
and get back in the win column.
I think Kentucky can go to Kroger and get them some food and stuff, and come back and still be the same, be up by 50 or 60 points. So,
Yeah.
how about Florida Atlantic and Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers?
Ooh, this is interesting too because very interesting. I'm definitely gonna be watching this one. Western Kentucky play UTS. We talked about them earlier with the UTSA. We know what happened there. UTSA won, but it was a close game. I guess I'll take Western Kentucky in this one, just for the pick'em sake.
Yeah, Florida Atlantic has got some rough time. Butch Davis is the head coach, and I mean it's just been not really a Butch Davis team and stuff like. It's been really rough. So I'm going with the Hilltoppers. I think the Hilltoppers will hilltop them up in Western Kentucky. Now, if it was playing in Florida Atlantic, it might be a little bit different story, but they're playing up in Western Kentucky.
Sure.
So Florida State at Boston College.
Ooh, okay, here's a good one. Boston College had a little bit of hype too coming into the season. People were talking about watch out for Boston College, but to come into that rank, they're gonna come in, they're gonna end the season ranked, but now we're here. Florida State also has had a little bit of a letdown of a year. They come in with a lot of hype as well. So it's both teams who have let down fan bases, just let down people in general. If I had to pick one, I'm gonna say Boston College will beat Florida State. I'm not sure what the numbers are looking like right now, but I'm going to say, just off this year, off of what I've watched, I'm going to take Boston College. I know Florida State did pull the win against Miami last week in a really close one, which in a game that really, in my opinion, shouldn't have been close. I think Florida State should have beat them by 10 plus, but
Yeah. I agree with you too. I think Boston College is a team up in Boston and Chestnut Hill. It's not a hard place to play because of the foul noise and stuff like that, but it's a hard place to play for Florida State because you got to go up in the cold.
Yeah.
And it's very cold up there. And if the cold gets up there, I mean, the running back and the quarterback is a running quarterback. He's inconsistent on the passing. If he can stop him in the backfield running, you can stop Florida State's offense. So,
facts.
So I'll give Boston College an edge on that. Wofford going into North Carolina.
North Carolina. I like North Carolina. I liked them going into this year. Let me down a little bit, not going to lie to you. But I thought for sure they'd end top 5. But, it's okay, though. They still had a decent year. I mean, they've looked good. Sam Howell's the quarterback. That's his name, right?
Yeah, Sam Howell.
He looks good. He always looks good, though. He's definitely going to be a top pick quarterback-wise in the draft. I take Sam Howell, North Carolina to beat. Just to probably steamroll them out. I don't think it'll be close.
Yeah, right now Sam Howell's up in the air. They haven't really decided if they're going to play him or not because they got the NC State coming up next. They could rest him too, even though Wofford is not a great team. They could rest him and let the 2 backup quarterbacks run the show.
Mm-hmm.
They got Luke May, who is a 4-star recruit, highly recruited, coming out last year, and then Coswell's been there for 3 or 4 years anyway. So, I mean, they got doable quarterbacks, and then they got a 6'7" quarterback behind there that redshirted this year. So,
that's smart to play the backups though, because you don't want the risk of him getting hurt and then going into NC State rival game, and then
So, but my North Carolina team, that's my team. So I picked North Carolina to win that one myself. Purdue at Northwestern. Hold on, make sure. Well, I got that. That's going to be later on.
Okay.
Because that's one other game. How about UMass and Army?
Army. Just give me Army. I don't have any analysis behind that. Just give me Army.
Army's a better running game, better run the team. UMass is inconsistent. UMass only won a few games, but Army is as an option team. So the service academies are hard to prepare for in a short period of time. If you don't get a bye week before them, you get a hard time to play them. So I got Army too.
Game, but I saw the run game. They are elite as far as that.
South Florida and Tulane.
Okay. Tulane has played a lot of ranked opponents this year and come close to beating a lot of ranked opponents. Um, with that being said, I give me Tulane riding the green wave. But it's simply just because they almost beat number 2 Oklahoma when they were number 2. And then they almost beat Cincinnati too. So I'm going to ride Tulane.
Yeah, and get your piggyback on that Tulane and Oklahoma game. That was played in Oklahoma, and
Yeah.
it was a home lane for Tulane. It was a home game for Tulane,
Yeah.
so they went into that field and actually almost won that game, being the home team.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the first time Oklahoma was the visiting team at their own stadium.
It was bad. And Spencer, that. Well, Oklahoma as a whole went into the season like they were the next, say a good team, the 2020 Bama or the 2019 LSU. They were
Right.
coming in. People were saying they were going to go undefeated, dominate everybody, and they didn't. Obviously, as we were sitting at 13, and we picked Iowa State to beat them unranked. So, yeah, that was interesting too. But Tulane still, I mean, it's a ranked opponent. Whether you know what I mean, whether they're not good or not. So yeah, I'll take Tulane in that.
Yeah, South Florida is like a Duke team to me. I just can't pick a team like that. I mean, seeing like Thursday night, I'm gonna go ahead and put the scoreboard up for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday games here. Duke got blasted by Louisville
Yeah,
on the Thursday night game. That was just embarrassing. So
yeah, it was
for
what
Duke,
62 to 22 or something like that. 60.
yeah, 62 something like that. It was a blowout. I think Cliff is on his way out of Duke.
Yeah,
I
I would
mean,
say
he's
so.
been there for 14 years, and his first few years he did really great. In the last 3 or 4 years, he's not been too hot.
Yeah,
Under 500 in conference play, under 500. You
yeah.
Kent State and Akron, the battle of the Ohio's.
State and Akron. I've seen Akron. Akron has played Ohio State this year. I know that. And they played them okay at the start, and then it just it's Ohio State. But if I had to pick one, I guess I'll go Akron. I think I'll go Akron just because of the ranked opponents they played and experience there, so they can handle the pressure.
Yeah, I got Kent State. Kent State has played some good opponents this year too, and they've been in some games and some games they haven't been into. But Akron has been up and down too,
Yeah.
so I think Kent State could come in there and beat Akron in Akron. Um, Coastal Carolina is playing Texas State and Coastal Carolina in Conway, South Carolina.
Coastal Carolina is good. They're always one of those teams that are like, are they legit? Are they not? Last year they beat BYU, didn't they? Last year with Zach Wilson.
Yes.
Yeah, so Coastal Carolina is always that team that's kind of like, we're here, but we're not great, but we're here. So with that being said, I'll take Coastal Carolina in that.
Yeah, Coastal Carolina and Conway, South Carolina is a tough place to beat them in. Even though they just came on the national scene 2 years ago,
Yeah.
they always been playing tough at home and stuff like that. And Chadwell, and once again, his name has been surfing around some key coaching jobs too.
Hmm.
The coaching job he's done at Coastal Carolina has been tremendous. The only knock on about him is that team went into Boone, North Carolina, up in Appalachian State, and they have never won in Appalachian State, and they still didn't win
Yeah.
this year. So I mean, to me, they still got their hopes up, not too much hopes, because if Appalachian State wins out, they win their conference due to the
Yeah.
tiebreaker. So I got Coastal Carolina winning that one also. Um, Arkansas State and Georgia State.
Arkansas State. I'll take Arkansas State in that one.
I got Georgia State. I think Georgia State is just a tad, a little bit better than Arkansas State. I've seen Georgia State play North Carolina. They hung tough with North Carolina to halftime, and then after halftime, it was just over. So I got Georgia State on that one. Let's see here. Yep, Washington and Colorado.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so a little bit more relevant. um, Washington, Colorado. I'm gonna take Colorado to beat Washington.
So you're going with the home team on this
Going with
one,
the
huh?
home team.
I take Washington going on the road. I think Washington is a little bit just a tad better, just a tad, not much. I think Washington wins about a field goal on this one. All right, let's see here. I'm going to pick. Well, we do. All right, we'll hold it right there, and then we'll just go in. And we're going to break down the UCLA and USC for all our West Coast people here.
Yeah.
This game is played at 4 Eastern Time at Memorial Coliseum in Los Angeles, California. The game can be seen on the Fox basic regular channel on Fox. UCLA is 6-4. USC comes in 4-5. We know about USC. We know about Chip Kelly. What do you think is going to happen in this ball game today?
I think it's going to be a very good game. I think it's going to be a very good game because anytime these two teams play, it's always, a heated rivalry. UCLA's looked good this year, though. They beat Oregon, I believe, didn't they? I know that was a really
No, Oregon beat
they
them.
lost Oregon. It was close, though, right?
It was close all the way up to the end.
Yeah. Okay. So UCLA hung tough with number 3. So, and USC's at 4-5 right now. UCLA, like you said, 6-4. I'm going to take UCLA to beat USC at their home. I think UCLA is just the better team. I don't care if USC's at home. UCLA has shown more to me than USC has. So I'm going to take UCLA.
Yeah, if you look at it this way, since Clayton Hilton has been fired, in the second week of the season, there was still some fight, but the loss of wide receiver Drake Landon really hurt USC into a point where they're not getting the passing game where they needed to be. Arizona State was able to hammer the Trojans to close to 300 yards a few weeks ago. Arizona was able to fire away easily the week before. Now it's UCLA's turn to fire up.
Yeah.
And we know about Chip Kelly's fast-paced offense. He get that first down, they keep moving down the field and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's not been a Chip Kelly type offense. It's been more of a using the pound and run game and then sprinkling a little bit of passing here and there. But they still got the speed and still got the coaching. And like you said, they're wearing games like against Oregon. They beat LSU at the beginning of the season. So, I mean, that really set the panel off on the LSU too. I believe LSU came in ranked too. I believe
they did. They came in ranked like top 15.
So I think UCLA is more seasoned vet. They're trying to upset. I think USC, they do have a freshman anything special, Arizona State, but they threw for 391, 4 scores in the win over Washington State early in the year. Now the program gets to see what he can do. So they got a freshman starting quarterback and going in UCLA. And then, Chip Kelly's defensive coordinators usually they have game plans for freshmen. So they will see one thing, but it really ain't seeing the thing they really see at the pre-snap. So I think I'll get the edge to UCLA on this one myself. So you got UCLA too?
Yeah, UCLA.
So we got UCLA on this one here. So mark it down here. All righty. Moving right along. We'll go a couple more and then we'll start back picking them again. Baylor versus Kansas State. The pesky Kansas State team at 5:30 Eastern Time at Bill Snyder Family Stadium in Manhattan, Kansas, not Manhattan, New York, Manhattan, Kansas.
Yeah.
This is on the FS1 network. Baylor comes in at 8-2. Kansas State comes in 7-3. So this could be a game that could set some things in motion from the Pac-12.
Yes. Baylor coming in fresh off you have to say it, even though I don't think it is. You coming off the upset, the rankings, you have to say it. Baylor coming fresh off that upset where I think we all knew. I hope you picked Oklahoma Baylor over Oklahoma, because I think a lot of the country did. They're coming to play a Kansas State team who's 7-3. But Baylor's looked good. Baylor's looked really good. I don't know, really. I don't know how it could go any other way than what I think it's going to go. I think Baylor's going to win. I think Baylor's going to win by probably 10 plus. They're going to go into Kansas State and they're going to beat the Wildcats. I want number 11 Baylor on the road.
So you're taking Baylor. Let me see here. I'm gonna give you a little fresh point about Baylor. Baylor is their offense is run by Larry Fedora, the former North Carolina coach. Mm-hmm. So he's running their offense. Their offense is a read option type offense, and it gives teams a lot of things eye candy. What we call eye candy is where they fake it off to different people in the backfield, and then next thing they got the RPO going down the field.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that Baylor has done well this year, and I think they kept Oklahoma off balance the way they were forming that offensive because they give Oklahoma one look, and then next thing you know they got a jet sweep going. The guy got the ball going the other way, but he faked it like the two people already. So I mean, these read option teams give a lot of trouble because it's a more of an option team, but people don't want to call it an option. You just call it a read option.
Right.
But it's more like your wishbone type offense and your flex bone and all that stuff. But they just call it a read option. But because you can pass out of it, you can run out of it now. They added some wings to it. But Kansas State's defense is not being overly top. Baylor, couldn't throw on West Virginia. Efficiency. The Wildcats' run defense is really good. So that's going to put a lot of pressure on the quarterback for Baylor and stuff like that. But I think if it's playing in Manhattan, Kansas, it's another one of those fields that it's going to be hard for Baylor to go in there and try to blow them out and stuff like that. But I think, to me, I think Kansas State could pull the upset in Manhattan because they call it the Manhattan for no reason whatsoever because it's a place that teams go in there you think he's going to win. Like Oklahoma's been in there a couple of times and got upsetted in it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's one of those type of games that you can pull an upset here. So I'm going to go with Kansas State on the upset. And you got Baylor.
Yeah, I got Baylor.
So now if it was at home, yeah, I would have gone with Baylor. But
yeah,
you're playing in Kansas State for that. So now we're going to move right back into
watch. That's going to be a really fun one to watch.
Yeah. We're gonna move right back into the ACC here. We got Wake Forest versus Clemson. This is a very interesting game here. Mm-hmm. Wake Forest is right now up 2 games on NC State and Clemson. NC State lost to Wake Forest. NC State beat Clemson. If Clemson can beat Wake Forest, that'd be 1 game less with 1 game to go. And then Wake Forest can't clinch. If Wake Forest win, they clinch their division in this game. If Wake Forest don't win, the division can't be clinched unless Wake Forest wins their last game of the season. And then we'll go to the rankings between North Carolina State, Wake Forest, and Clemson for the tiebreaker. So whoever's higher ranked.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of interesting climax on this Wake Forest Clemson game. This game is at 12 o'clock. It's at Memorial Stadium in Clemson, South Carolina. ESPN is carrying this game. Wake Forest comes in at 9-1. Clemson comes in at 7-3. North Carolina game was not a conference game. It was an overall game, so it didn't count against the ACC. That's why people are confused about that. North Carolina signed a 3-year deal. Signed a 2-year deal with a home and home game. Wake Forest game, not the first year, but the year before was the overall game. Last year game was a conference game. This year's an overall game. Next year will be a conference game.
It's weird.
No, yeah, it's weird because North Carolina wanted to play Wake Forest, and that's the only way they could have done it. So they gave each other another Power 5 conference team on their schedule. Basically, that's how it's done. So when you look at this game here, Clemson's struggling on the offense. The quarterback is struggling. This is not a typical Clemson team. You knew it was going to be down without Trevor Lawrence and ETN not being there, and their offense is on the side of the ball. Defense is still good, but not up there where it was. Mm-hmm. So tell me how would the Demon Deacons go into they so-called the Death Valley of Memorial Stadium in Clemson and pull out this victory today?
Well, it's going to be hard to do this. And I think on paper you're saying, well, Wake Forest is going to win this game, right? But you got to think Clemson and their Death Valley is hard to win in. The tradition where they run down the backside of the stadium, it gets the fans up and it gets them going. But the thing about Clemson is their offense just is not up to par, and their defense is not how they were at the beginning of the year when they barely lost to Georgia. So with all of that being said, Wake Forest has just got to go in and they've got to stay calm under all the pressure they're going to be under. You can say, well, Landon, Clemson's not ranked. Why are they under pressure? They're under so much pressure because of what Ray said with the ACC situation. It is so tight. And they're playing at Clemson. Clemson is very, 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 very hard to win when you go to their house. So Wake Forest, like I said, the key to victory for them is just stay calm, play their game. Don't get too excited. Don't make bad reads just because of the crowd noise. So that's my key to victory for Wake Forest. I think that's how they need to go in. They need to go in calm.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up something right here. I'm doing it right now. I'm gonna pull up the last time Wake Forest won in Clemson.
I bet it's insane.
Clemson last defeat against Wake Forest was 12-7 in 2008. The last time in Memorial Stadium was 29-19, 1998.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to find out if this was Clemson or was it them. So let me see here. Well, while I'm talking here, while I'm trying to find it. Um, if you look at Wake Forest, Hartman, the quarterback, struggled against North Carolina State. Even though they still got the win, he struggled minulously. He took a lot of hits. And if you watch that game a little bit, he was limping. He was in pain. We have no injury report on him whatsoever. They haven't said anything about the school. Schools have their alternative if they want to release the injury report and don't want to release it. So he was in a lot of pain. He took a lot of hits by NC State. They did get out with the victory in that ball game. But, Wake Forest defense has not been a particularly dominant defense.
Yeah.
They have played a lot of luckless sort of games. The Army game was a high-scoring game, 70-56 game. And the defense did give up 56 points in that ball game. Wake Forest defense likes to stop you from the 20 to 20, and then they don't start working on your defense until almost the red zone area. So they have one of the good red zone defense, but you can get yards on them. That's what Clemson needs to do. Clemson, on the other hand, they like to take these deep shots sometimes, and sometimes it gets them in trouble not taking what the defense gives you. In the last few games, Clemson has took advantage of some of the defense that is stopping the over the top throws, deep throws, and going with the underneath stuff. And I think that's what Ugalea is good at, is the underneath stuff. He's not really good at throwing the deep bomb passes, not yet anyway. Hartman, he's good at everything. He's good at short passes. He's good at the run. He's good at the deep passes. And Clemson don't give up too many deep passes in games. If you beat Clemson, you're going to beat them underneath throws and stuff like that. And which, to me, Hartman is good at that too. So you got a double-edged sword here when you play Wake Forest. Wake Forest running game has not been up to the point where it was last year, but they're doing it effectively to get some of the timing drives in the late games to get first downs. They've been doing that. Wake Forest has been – Clawson's offense has not been mirrored by anybody because Wake Forest don't get that offense out. That slow mesh works very well because you don't know how long you're going to hold that smash into it. Would that give a problem to Clemson's defense?
Well, I think Clemson's defense got so many problems going into this. And you said it, and I think it's because Wake Forest and their quarterback, how consistently good at everything he is. He's super all around, So I think that's a big problem for Clemson, and I think everything you just said is going to pose a problem to Clemson. Because they haven't been up to par this year. Their quarterback is fantastic all around. So I think it's going to pose a huge problem to Clemson's defense.
Yeah, and if you look at the line, if you look at this here, somebody said Clemson's going to win 34-31. Clemson's favored by 4. 56.5 is the over and under. I think that 56.5 is a little bit.
I think it's a stretch.
No, I think it should have been a little bit more.
You think so?
Yeah, Wake Forest puts points on the board.
Yeah, I know, but it's going to be hard to put points on the board.
And they said, they say 56.5. So if you take the 34-31, that's 65 right there. So they're going with the over on that one. To me, I think Wake Forest could pull this one out. It's going to be a slim by I think it's going to be a closer game than what people think it is.
Yeah.
Because it's Death Valley, it's Clemson, it's Debo Swinney, it's Brent Venables, the defensive coordinator. They'll have some up for Hartman. But the question is, can Wake Forest, if one of that wide receiver who had a lot of drops, he got targeted 25 times and dropped the ball 7 or 8 times in that game against NC State. So the question is, can he do the same? Will he do the same thing on that? And that's going to be the hard part to say and stuff like that. So I have Wake Forest winning on the slim of their teeth.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree. I think Wake Forest wins. I think it's going to take them a little bit to get going, though, because they're playing at Clemson, you know. I think that poses the biggest problem for Wake Forest. I don't think it's Clemson's defense. I think it's just the fact that it takes a while to get used to crowd noise, takes a while to get used to what kind of silent count you're going to need. It's, you know, as an offensive line, it takes a little bit to realize when you need to go and not. So I think that Wake Forest wins by 3 max.
the last time Wake Forest brought a ranked team into Clemson was back in 1979. That's the last time Wake
They're
Forest.
going to make history when they beat Clemson.
So yeah, I mean, if you look at these stuff here, man, it's time consuming here. Let's see. Let me see if I can find. They listed 5 notable games for 12 straight wins for Clemson versus Wake Forest. That's gonna be in the battle today.
Mm-hmm.
Tiger has won 15 straight from 1977 to 1991. They have
That's
won
crazy.
12. They have won 12 consecutive games against wins in Clemson, the longest active streak against ACC opponents. That's in Clemson. So they haven't won in the last 12 games in Clemson. The closest game during that span was 31-28 in 2011. The rest were average about 30.5 points. Clemson's last defeat against Wake Forest was 12-7 in 2008, and that was in Memorial Stadium. And the last time in Memorial Stadium was 29-19. 1998 is the last time Wake Forest has won in Memorial Stadium.
That's insane. That is a lot of
So
games.
Wake Forest can break two things here today.
Yeah.
They can break went the 12-game losing streak against Clemson, and they can break that streak from since 1998 in Memorial Stadium.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So there's a lot of pressure on Wake Forest. I don't think Clemson's got a lot of pressure because they've been playing down, but still, Debo Sweeney's been there before. He's won a national championship. He's been in the ACC for a while. So I mean, he's got the pedigree. Dawson is now learning how to win and stuff like that. So that's going to be a tale of two tapes. Who's going to outcoach who in this ball game?
It's going to be fun to watch. That's going to be one. As soon as this ends, this game will be starting. So I recommend you go turn this on.
Yeah.
On ESPN, so everybody should have it. So.
Yeah, on national television.
So that's going to be one to watch for sure.
Well. Also at 12 o'clock, this game takes place in Ohio, at Ohio State Stadium in Columbus, Ohio.
Here we go.
At 12 o'clock on ABC. This is Michigan State number 9-1 against Ohio State number 9-1. So now this is going to be the question here. This is going to be the big question. This is for the marble. This is for everything. Mm-hmm. This is for bragging rights. This is for number 1. This is for knocking Ohio State possibly out of the contention of the NCAA playoffs. This could put Michigan State back into the contention of the playoffs. There's a lot of stuff riding on this game, and it's playing in Ohio State and Columbus Stadium, in Buckeye land. So it's going to be a lot of red, and they have a little mixture of green. So what do you take on this game here? You got Walker versus Ohio State CJ Strong in this contest.
Oh gosh, it's going to be fun. This is going to be a very fun game to watch. I love watching Kenneth Walker play. He's so good. He's so phenomenal at reading holes and finding the open hole and going. And he's so good in open field. He's the most electrifying running back in the NCAA right now. Probably the best running back in the NCAA. But Ohio State roster-wise, man, Ohio State has technically the best roster in NCAA. They dropped one game to Oregon, who is sitting at 3 right now, I believe. Is Ohio State 4? Oregon's 3 right now?
Yep.
Okay,
yep.
So Ohio State is in the college football playoff as of right now. Michigan State is sitting at 7. They're just right outside. They're on that little stretch of coming in. Now, we've picked games. We've said SMU could beat Cincinnati. You never really know what's going to happen there. If that were to happen and Michigan State were to beat Ohio State, I would almost say Michigan State be that 5 seed now. Put Michigan at 4, Michigan State at 5, and Cincinnati drop somewhere back. But, man, truth is, they're playing it at Ohio State, and that is one of the hardest stadiums to win in. Like we've talked about that a lot today, but Ohio State is really hard just to win in. So and then Michigan State's coming in. They've dropped one game, and that was to Purdue. It was a bad loss. They should not have lost that game, but they did. Purdue's been like the dream crusher for the top four teams, but they played Ohio State, and Ohio State dusted them. So does that say Ohio State's a different breed, a different animal than other teams? I don't know. I guess we're gonna see Saturday. But my pick for this game, I'm going to take Michigan State to beat Ohio State in Columbus by 3 points. That's my pick. I think that Kenneth Walker is going to pound that defense. I think Michigan State just overall has more heart than Ohio State. I think Michigan State is they're playing with a chip on their shoulder for sure because they're sitting at that 7. Ohio State's at that 4. So they won in. I think Michigan State's going to play with a sense of urgency that Ohio State's just not going to have, even though they're playing at home. I think Michigan State pulls the upset and beats Ohio State and moves up back into college football playoff contention.
Yeah, if you look at it this way, and you look at some interesting points here, Ohio State defense hasn't played anyone since September 11th, but the offense had to deal with Penn State and Purdue, and it ripped through both of them.
And it took them a while to get rolling against Penn State, though. That's one thing to look at. It took them a while to get rolling. Now, Michigan State, you cannot take long to get rolling because Kenneth Walker, as soon as he comes out of that locker room, he's ready to put 400 yards on your defense.
Yeah.
So
and they're number one in the nation in yards and scoring. Ohio State got the running game going again with a brilliant day against the Boilermakers. The NFL caliber receiver core is lighting it up, and Stroud has settled in. Mm-hmm. So now to get Stroud out of settled in, Michigan State's defense likes to put pressure.
Yes.
But their defense is awful. I can give you that. Their defense is awful. But they like to put pressure on the quarterback. If they could get to C.J. Stroud, that could do some damage to Ohio State.
Yep.
And like you said, the stadium is tough to play in. Or they already have one loss this year, and Oregon came into Ohio State and beat them. So, I mean, there's a little bit of story there with Oregon there. If you look at Michigan State being playing well in defense has been awful. It's got the nation's worst pass defense, allowing 1,300 yards, over 1,300 yards in the last 3 games.
That's crazy.
1,300 yards. So that's not going to handle up against Ohio State.
No, it's not. But listen, first game of the season, Maryland versus Ohio State. It was on a Thursday night, I believe, or Friday night.
Yeah.
Maryland put a lot of pressure on C.J. Stroud in that offensive line.
Yep.
The first quarter, give or take, they were able to hold the pressure and read it, okay? But they got tired easily. Michigan State's pass rush is better than Maryland's pass rush, in my opinion, at least. I don't know about you. Yep. But I think Michigan State's pass rush and their play designs are 10 times better than Maryland. That's what stands out to me about Michigan State's defense. Why they have the edge over the number 1 offense in the country, in my opinion, is because the defensive pressure is going to get to Ohio State. And C.J. Stroud, we've seen whenever he is pressured, he panics and throws bad reads or gets sacked or just lays down or runs out of bounds or, anything like that. So I think he's going to get pressured. That offensive line's going to get tired. I think that's the big key for the defense is you've got to apply pressure because you're not going to be – I don't care who it is, you're not going to be able to handle that wide receiver core.
Yeah, they got a good wide receiving core. But then again, if Michigan State ploys Walker and Walker gets the yards, that means it's going to be long drives, time possession, going to keep that high-power offense sitting on the sidelines. If they can do all that key, keeping them on the sideline, win the time possession, win the running battle, make the defense of Ohio State tired, and get the offense frustrated, that's the key for success right there.
Yes, I think they're going to.
That's hard to do in Ohio State though, because you got the fan base, So to me, they got these scores up here. It's a 19-point favor for Ohio State.
Wow,
19 points.
That's crazy.
And you're talking about the number 7 team in the nation.
Yeah, versus the number 4. So it's just
over and under is 67 points.
And I'm okay with that, I think.
Yeah. Well, one guy got this thing going, Ohio State 40, Michigan State 31.
it's 2 possessions. I don't like it, and I don't think Ohio State will be able to get 2 possessions over Michigan State.
Yeah. So if you're looking at it that way, I'm gonna pull for Michigan State because I don't like Ohio State.
I
I
don't
think
like
Michigan
Ohio State
State.
either, but
I think it's gonna
I
be the
think if you
upset.
just look at it, Michigan State's just the matchup. The matchup is different, and I think Michigan State wins the matchup.
And why I'm going with that is because that next game that is right behind there, you dropped off the state and you put the Michigan in there. You got to go to Ann Arbor. C.J. Stroud has not played in a rivalry game yet in his college football career.
Yeah.
He could be looking ahead, and all of a sudden his mind's set for Michigan, not Michigan State. He can see the way my high school coach put it out. We played a team that was some sort of like a rivalry. We played Oxford Webb. We had played another school called Smith Webb.
Mhm.
And then Westcott, and he said, when you go out there and see that Webb, don't think of Oxford Webb. You go out there and think about Smith Webb, the team you're playing. Man, we had a freshman quarterback. He went out there and saw Webb's name on there. He was like tossing the ball like he was. These guys had like 4 or 5 interceptions till halftime. And I went and I pulled him to the side. I said, "This is not Oxford Webb you're playing against. This is a no Hoboken team out of no Hoboken you playing at. Get out there and play like you normally play." Second half, we came back and won by 3 or 4 points. But us again, we were favored by 45.
Yeah.
And our coach told you, I told you don't do that. So can he be Mesquite with that Michigan? Because they wear that Michigan State on the jersey. If they see the word Michigan, even though it's green, that Michigan is all that thing. That's all they could be really thinking about too. This could be a trap game for Ohio State.
It could be, and we talked about how maybe Michigan versus Maryland was a trap game for Michigan.
Yep.
But this is a big thing looking for next week. If you want to go ahead and think about next week, go ahead and think about it because Ohio State's playing Michigan State, who's a really good team, who's going to give them fits, while Michigan is playing Maryland.
Yeah.
Think about that. Think about the road to Michigan. So right now, Michigan could really be looking forward because I don't think they're going to have any problems in Maryland. But Ohio State has to be thinking about Michigan State and then think about Michigan. So I think that the only way to think about this is you cannot be thinking about Michigan, but I think they're going to.
Yeah.
They want to play Michigan so bad and go beat them in their home that they're going to overlook Michigan State right here. And that's why I think Michigan State's going to win. That's just another reason on top of it.
Yeah, true.
So
that is true. I'll give you that. Well. We're getting to the point where we're going to go ahead and talk about this next game here. This game is at 3:30. It's at Deming Stadium in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. This game is on CBS. 9-1 Alabama against a 7-3 Arkansas. We call it Arkansas, but Arkansas. So you're an Alabama fan.
Mm-hmm.
Did this game give you a little bit of a chill factor, or is this going to be like we know what Georgia did to them? Is this going to be the same? It's going to be the same type game that Alabama can do what Georgia did to them.
See, I'm not worried about this game because this is the only reason why. We're playing at Bryant-Denny, okay? Whenever Bama plays at Bryant-Denny, they're lethal. And it's not just that. It's that Bama played Ole Miss, okay? And I was so worried going into that game. Oh, Bama's going to get beat. Bama's going to get beat. Bama's going to get beat. I don't look at Arkansas as any better than Ole Miss. I don't. And I think Bama's going to go out. They're going to play at home. They're going to, Will Anderson's going to bring the pressure. Our defense is so good. Our defense is very inconsistent, but we got to get that consistency down this week. Prepare for Auburn. Run Will Anderson off that edge. Let Bryce Young eat up against that defense. I don't see this game being close. I think Bama's going to win it 42-17, 42-21.
Alabama played a squash team last week.
Mm-hmm.
So they really had no pressure against them on that squash team. They
Right.
squashed them. Going from a squash game back to a decent SEC team that has done pretty good this year, and except for that Georgia game and some other few games. I mean, they battled Ole Miss to overtime, and Ole Miss won in overtime. They could easily won that game, so they could have came in at 7-8-2 in that prospect. But you got the trap game too. The consistent of these weeks are trap games, for certain teams. Because you got Auburn waiting in the wings.
Yeah, I ain't worried about that though.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, still, a trap game is a trap game.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you say you ain't worried about Auburn, don't let that game get like it was when the guy missed that field goal and he ran it back for a touchdown.
Yeah.
So
So the kick six, yeah, that I have nightmares about that. But um, that's I don't think this is a trap. Well, obviously it is. It is, but like I don't think it's gonna mess up Alabama at all. I think Nick Saban knows what he's doing with that program. He's a distinguished coach. He knows how to handle games like this. I think went to Texas A&M looking over at Texas A&M and got beat. And it's also one of the hardest places to play. So that's one
would
thing about
this
that Texas A&M game. Go ahead.
would this surprise you if it'd be a defensive game?
Yeah, it's not going to be a defensive game. I think Alabama's offense is way too good for this to be a low-scoring defensive game. I was surprised that they held LSU held Bama to 20. I thought Bama would score 50 on them, but they didn't. Um, so I don't think it's going to be. It would very well surprise me if it's a defensive game. Now, it very well could be because they both have good defenses, but I think Bama's offense is so good. Bryce Young is really good. He's only a sophomore. You got to think about that. So you have to worry about him next year too. So he's got only ways up for him. Brian Robinson has been a dog. We've got all these guys who have just been dogs. So I don't see Arkansas being able to compete maybe past halftime. It might be a close game at halftime, but after halftime it's going to be beat down.
Well, if you look at this too, I mean, if you talk about this could be scary. Alabama only considered it running for just 6 yards against LSU a few weeks ago. Arkansas's run defense hasn't allowed more than 135 yards, getting ripped up by Ole Miss in the early October's game.
Yeah, but see, Brian Robinson, and I love Brian Robinson. I talk him up all the time. People don't understand how good Brian Robinson really is. If you've never watched an Alabama game this year, watch Brian Robinson run. He runs just like Damian Harris ran at Alabama. I don't know if you remember Damian Harris, but he would carry the pack. He's so good, and he's a red zone threat just like Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson can also pick up that 8-9 yards with guys on his back. So that's Brian Robinson is really good. Now Arkansas's run defense is good too. I can't deny that, but Brian Robinson is just a different breed as far as running back goes. He's up there with Kenneth Walker for best in the NCAA. So I think Brian Robinson will definitely be able to break through Arkansas's defense. And we got to remember, Alabama has one of the best offensive lines in football too. That's another thing we got to remember. So they can open up holes for Brian Robinson, and we'll see what happens. But I truly think Bama is gonna blow Arkansas out.
Well, they got Bama favored by 21 points,
They don't surprise me one bit. What's the over under?
57.5.
Okay.
But somebody got the score. Somebody got the score being Alabama 37, Arkansas 20. You think Arkansas is going to make at least 20 points on them?
I wouldn't be surprised.
So
I'd say halftime. I'd say I wouldn't be surprised if at halftime Arkansas had a little lead, or it was a tie game, or Bama up by like 3 or 7 or something like that.
yeah. Well, I'm going with Alabama too. I don't Arkansas to me. It's just not. I mean, they got to play a few more years and being a winning record for me to do anything like that. But I mean, they still got that one good wide receiver for Arkansas, so that's going to. I'll probably put a little bit of trouble on one side of your defensive area and stuff like that. But you playing in Brian Denning when the lights go out every time they score a touchdown, I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
I mean, awesome. The environment is.
I mean, other teams are starting to copy it. I mean, Duke's got lights going out when he scored a touchdown. When he scored a touchdown,
yeah.
I mean, they scored some last night and saw it, but that was just when they score. So to me, I think it's going to be it could be a closer game than what people might think, but at the end, I think Alabama does take charge after the third quarter. Maybe I'll give Arkansas maybe up to third quarter to stay in it, and then just going to be wore out by the fourth.
Yeah.
So let's go here. Well. Next game we're going to be talking about here today will be the 7:30 game Eastern Time. It is in Rice, Eccles Stadium in Salt Lake City, Utah. It's on ABC. Oregon comes in at 9-1. Utah comes in at 7-3.
It's gonna be a good one.
This could be the preview of the Pac-12 championship game too.
Yeah. It's gonna be a good one. But Oregon is sitting at 3 right now, like we've said. Utah's sitting at 20. Wait, is Utah even ranked anymore? What are they ranked?
Not in the playoff one, and
they're in
I
AP.
don't think. Let me see.
They're ranked
here.
like 24th in AP, I think. Oh yeah, they are. They're right there, 23rd.
Yeah, 23rd.
So they're ranked. Yeah, so 23rd. Oregon's sitting at 3. It's gonna be a good one, and it's in Utah too. And we know whenever Utah plays these high-profile games that it is normally loud in there, and it is normally a hard place to win. Let me say this. I've said it. I'm not high on Oregon, but I think they beat teams like Utah. But, and then there's another but. It just seems like an Oregon game to drop. I don't know why. I can't explain why I feel that way. It just seems like a game that Oregon's going to lose. I don't know why I feel that way. Like I said, I have no idea why. I just think that I don't know. I just think that Oregon, it's just an Oregon game to lose. And I can't explain it. But it just is an Oregon game to lose.
Well, if you look at it, I can understand where your sentiment is. Oregon does drop at least one game they unexpected they don't drop, but I think they already did that. They dropped that Stanford game on a bad call. To me, that Stanford game was a bad call. I mean, they should have came in this game undefeated. But, it's what it is. I think that game is part of the one game that they drop. They usually drop at least one game a year. I think they already did this. I think it's going to be a pretty good game. But the question is, does Utah defense have enough to stop their offense? Brown's been doing great. The wide receivers have been doing. But the question is, does Utah be able to block Tipino?
No, and that's the only thing that I see Oregon. I see Oregon winning this game. I think my prediction is Oregon winning the game. But I have a weird feeling that it might not happen. But Oregon's just been looking really good since the Stanford loss. The going to be the number one overall pick more than likely. He's not going to be able to get blocked. He is a monster. He's a machine. So yeah, I think I'm definitely taking Oregon in this game to beat Utah. I just think that they played too good since the game they dropped to lose another.
Yeah, if you look at it, this team is 7-0 when it doesn't allow 200 yards rushing, 0-3 when it does more than that the program is 0-8 in his last 8. 0 in his last 8 going back to early 2017 when it allows. The Utah offensive line is going to try to crush everything. That's what Utah line is. They're going to try to hope they can block Tipino. But Thibodeau is fast. I mean, if you got a bigger guy on him, he can spin right, use his quickness and get right through him. And that's going to cause a lot of havoc on your thing. I don't like Utah. The simple reason is my ex-wife's brother went there. So anything with my ex-wife dealing with, I don't pick. I'm sorry. I know it's kind of stupid. But
no, I mean, I don't think they beat Oregon anyway. But.
I don't think they're gonna. They play good at home. They'll play better at home. To that, I mean, I think Oregon's got a lot to play with. I think Oregon's in that trying to get back to that championship, the playoffs. I think they got their eyes set. They already set number 3. They can't take this loss here to knock them all the way out. They won't be able to get back in it. So right now, I think they favoring Utah by 3 over Oregon.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what Vegas done. They put them a 3-point favorite. They got somebody predict Utah can win 30-26.
No, I'm sorry, but you're losing a lot of money.
Yeah, I don't think the over and under is 59 points. So
what are they doing in Vegas?
They're trying to lose some money, but they're gonna. I don't know. They want to try to lose it or nothing like that. Let's go ahead and finish up some of our pick'ems here. Marshall at Charlotte. Who do you got?
Marshall.
Yeah, I think Marshall will win this one too. But Charlotte has played good at home. They beat, well, you can't say they really beat anybody. They beat Duke this year.
Yeah.
That's the only Power Five conference they beat team. So, Old Dominion at Middle Tennessee.
Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, I'm going with them. They're playing. Old Dominion hasn't had a football team in a while. Since the last time I was stationed there, and that was back in 2010.
Jeez.
So, um, Minnesota at Indiana.
I'm gonna take Indiana. Minnesota.
You're gonna take Indiana to pull the upset at home, huh?
At home, yeah.
I think Minnesota's gonna go in there and win, but I would like to see Minnesota lose, but it ain't gonna happen. I think they're gonna go in there and win. Well, East Carolina versus Navy. This is at the Navy Marine Corps Stadium in Annapolis, Maryland.
I'm gonna go Navy.
Yeah, I think East Carolina's had a good season. Navy's had a so-so season, but I think that triple option is going to give East Carolina wary, and plus they're playing in up in the Naval Academy, so I think the home crowd is going to give them a chance. But this also could be a overlooked game by Navy too, because they got Army waiting for them at the end.
Yeah.
That's always been a good game, the Army Navy game. Appalachian State goes into Troy.
App State.
Yeah, I got to stay with the team.
App State.
I got to stay with the team out of Boone, North Carolina. Myself, I'm a North Carolina person, so.
Have you ever been to Boone, North Carolina?
Many times.
I love it.
Yeah, been there plenty of times. The actual football field is pretty unique. Yeah, it's sideways.
We drove past it and stuff. We go a lot for vacation, but
yeah.
I just love it there.
Yep. Tweetsie Railroad, Grandfather Mountain.
Oh, I love
been
it.
There,
it's
done that.
So beautiful.
So I've been there. The Blue Ridge Parkway, especially if you go in the fall with all the leaf changes goes.
Yeah, that's when we went last year. Oh, it was awesome.
So, Florida at Missouri.
Florida. Missouri.
You sure?
Yeah, Florida. Because Missouri is like Vanderbilt, honestly, as far as football goes, in my opinion. In the SEC.
I'm going to pick Missouri because Florida's in some radio disarray. They lost their defense. They fired the defensive coordinator. You still got Dan Mullins, who ain't called a pretty good game yet. And you still got Emory.
Still surprised that they almost beat Bama.
And you guys, and you still got Emory Jones, who throws interceptions at certain key points of the game too. So I'm picking Missouri because Missouri's better at home than they are on the road. I don't compare them to the Vanderbilt because they have done something in the SEC in a short time they've been there than Vanderbilt has done the whole time they've been there.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Rice and UTEP, University of Texas El Paso.
UTEP.
Yeah, UTEP is good at home. Only one of the losses came on the road. So the disarray of UConn at UCF.
UCF.
Yeah. We both got UCF on that one. And then Louisiana at Liberty.
Liberty.
You going with Hughes Freeze?
Yeah, I like the Liberty quarterback.
I get the notch to Hughes Freeze and stuff like that. So, all right, let's break it down back in here. We're going to go with BYU at Georgia Southern.
BYU.
Let's talk about this game a little bit here.
If I had to pick, it's Georgia Southern, right? So, and BYU is a ranked team. Georgia Southern, however, has 3 wins. So, there's an upside somewhat to Georgia Southern season. BYU is sitting at 14 right now, I believe, in the AP 15 14 in both AP and college football playoff. I'm gonna take BYU to beat Georgia Southern. I don't know if it's at Georgia Southern though, so maybe we have an upset at home, but I'm gonna take BYU to beat Georgia Southern.
This is the time of year last year that BYU got beat by Coastal Carolina.
It was.
So I think
Coastal Carolina is a little bit more proficient than Georgia Southern.
Yeah, true. If you look at the tail of the tape, points per game, BYU is 33.3 a game and 22.3 a game for Georgia Southern. BYU only allows 24.3 points per game, and Georgia Southern allows 31.6. But then the total yards of offense is almost 100 yards a pop, and the yards allows it's over about the same amount as offense. So, yeah, I think BYU has a chance of just going out here and blowing this game out. BYU did score 66 points against Virginia.
Yeah.
So the other day, so I got BYU winning this game myself. So this game is at what time?
4:00, I think.
4. So I got to find where they're on my paper here.
Yeah, 4:00.
No, here. So we both got BYU. All right, it takes care of most of that. So we got a few more 4:00 games and stuff like that. Let's talk about Old Dominion versus Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt is a dumpster fire of an organization. They're a disgrace to the SEC. They're never good in football, rarely good in basketball, but we're talking about football right now. So, but I mean, I don't know. If I had to guess, I mean, I would go with Vanderbilt. Because it's just Vanderbilt is just, I guess, more distinguished as far as this goes.
Over Ole Miss?
Oh, you said Ole Miss?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think you said Ole Miss. I don't know what I
Yeah,
thought
Ole
you
Miss.
said. What did I think? I don't know what I thought you said. Oh, Ole Miss. Ole Miss. Ole Miss. Ole Miss. Ole Miss.
You
is
better
so
pull the
good.
upset of the year right here.
I was about to. No, Ole Miss. Sorry, I misheard you. I don't know if I lagged or what it was. Ole Miss is just really good. The quarterback, what is his name?
Corral?
Corral. Matt Corral. Matt Corral, he's a Heisman candidate. He's number 2, number 3 right now sitting there. They're number 10 as far as AP goes. I'm not sure what they are, college football playoff. Yep, they're number 10. So, I'm going to take Ole Miss to beat Vanderbilt, obviously, but I think it's probably about like 30 or 40. Like it won't even be close.
Yeah, I had to include Vanderbilt hasn't been on the show yet, so I had to put him on the show. So
Yeah.
talk about him a little bit here and give him a little bit of spotlight
I had
here.
no idea what I thought you said.
That's
Vanderbilt's
okay.
beating Ole Miss. Oh yeah.
I thought you were gonna pull the upset. This would be one of the upset right here, and you can hear it here first on the ASL Sports Network.
Could you imagine if that happens tomorrow? I'd be like, I told you so.
Well, I mean, Ole Miss is they got the one of the best quarterbacks, and he's a Heisman hopeful. Vanderbilt is like my Duke. It's like a Duke team in the ACC. He's just there to fill up a spot on the last place line, just to give you enough games to it's gonna be run. Matt Corral gonna keep the turnovers to a minimum because Vanderbilt doesn't force any turnovers on their defense. So Vanderbilt is an underdog, is a 36-point underdog in this ball game. Over and under is 64.5. Did somebody predict the score to be 41-17 Ole Miss?
I don't think Vandy will even put up 17 against them.
So
Matt Corral though, like the thing with Matt Corral is Lane Kiffin just in general, his offense is super risky. Like he takes a bunch of risks. Like he always he likes to go for it on fourth and stuff like that. So I guess that's the only way I could see Vandy getting 17 is if they go for it in in their own territory, and then Vandy gets it, there down there. But still, I don't see 17 points being put up.
Yeah. Well, we got less than 44 minutes before the first game coming up here on the College Breakdown Show. Let's continue on. We got Notre Dame versus Georgia Tech. This game is played at 2:30 Eastern Time at Notre Dame Stadium in South Bend, Indiana. The game could be on the Notre Dame TV station, which is NBC. That's your local network, free broadcast channel there. Notre Dame record comes in at 9-1. Georgia Tech comes in at 3-7. in this ball game. Georgia Tech comes in with a dual-headed monster at quarterback that really hasn't helped himself when they beat North Carolina. That's kind of a downfall on my team this year. Teams under 500 records beating them and stuff like that has just been
rough,
unexplainable. But they do have one quarterback in Sims for Georgia Tech, who is a very good runner. His passing is starting to come around. He played here at Jacksonville at Sunderwood High School in Jacksonville, Florida. I seen him play in high school when he ran that single wing type looking offense because he was a quarterback plus a running back. So and that was very effective in high school. It's not effective in college. So what do you expect on Notre Dame to do in this ball game?
Blow Georgia Tech out. That's what I expect. I don't think it's going to be close. Notre Dame is another hard place to win at home, or win when you're away, excuse me. And they're 9-1. They're sitting at the 6th spot right now. That's what I'm seeing. Georgia Tech sitting at unranked at 3-7. Been a rough year. They've had some good wins, though. But I think Notre Dame will blow Georgia Tech out, and then they've got Stanford sitting next, which I think that's going to be 2 blowouts to end the season for Notre Dame. Notre Dame's a team we haven't really talked about maybe moving up into that top 4 because, what could happen. But, it is, so they're sitting at 6 AP right now, so you never know really what's going to happen there. As far as Notre Dame jumping that because they have 2 unranked opponents left. But I'm going to go with Notre Dame to blow out Georgia Tech in this game. I don't think it's going to be close whatsoever.
Yeah, you're talking about that. You're talking about, they close out the season going to Stanford.
Yeah.
So, Stanford might not be ranked, but Stanford could pull.
Yeah, they definitely could.
They could pull like what they did to Oregon out of Notre Dame. But the question is, if Notre Dame wins out, if they blow out Georgia Tech but don't blow out Stanford, and they don't have a conference championship, not this year because they're not in the ACC. They were only playing the ACC because they were independent and only get Notre Dame to play. The ACC felt sorry for them, so they brought them into the conference for one season. So without a conference championship, if they don't blow out Stanford and if Stanford comes in and don't get blown out, do you see Notre Dame jumping anywhere up in that top 4?
I think there would need to be some losses, of course. I think Oregon would need to lose. I think Cincinnati would need to lose.
How about if Alabama falls? Just saying if.
Yeah, if Alabama falls, if Georgia or Alabama fall, there's going to be a lot of movement. If Bama falls, I think that Cincinnati would be the first to get in there. Let's say something weird happens, Bama, Oregon, and Ohio State fall. I think that's the only way Notre Dame gets in. 3 teams have to fall out for Notre Dame to get in, just because how the line is right now,
Right.
And it's pretty tight in there, but I would say that's the only way they get in.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Notre Dame will beat Georgia Tech too in this ball game. I don't see no senior future how Georgia Tech could win this ball game unless something happens to or somebody gets injured for Notre Dame in this ball game. That's the only way I could see it. Let me see here. It's a 7:30 game. You're just trying to pull out where.
Let me see.
It's a 2:30 Eastern.
2:30 game.
2:30 game. Let me go back to 2:30 up here. Yeah, there's a 2:30 right here. All right, so we mark it down. We've got Notre Dame on this one here. And then our last game that we're going to actually break down, we'll break some more games down here in a few minutes because we'll have a little bit more time to do it. We got less than 40 minutes here before the first game kicks off here on the college sports breakdown. That is Purdue versus Northwestern. This game is at 12 o'clock. This is at Wrigley Field in Chicago, Illinois.
Yeah.
Big
Cool.
Ten networks carrying it. Purdue comes in at 64. Northwestern comes in a sloppy 3-7. Northwestern, there was a team that was in that COVID year. They had a winning record that won. I guess that played in the Big Ten tournament last year, and now just like Indiana, they had just faded away when the crowd came back in. So, what is going on at Northwestern right now?
I have no idea if it's the expectations going into this season that threw them off. If it's like you said, the crowd. I think it's a little bit of both because they had a lot of expectations and maybe that just overwhelmed them. That's the I have no idea. I can't even answer that question. I have no idea what's going on in Northwestern. But as far as this game goes, it's gonna be fun that it's at Wrigley. I think that's really cool. Um, that's gonna be interesting to see though. I kind of want to see how that looks. Um, Purdue has been the dream killer this year. They beat Michigan State. They've beat who else did they beat? They beat another top four team when they were top four. Who was it? Oh my gosh,
Iowa.
Iowa. That's right. They beat number two Iowa when they were number two and undefeated. So that's something Purdue has going for them. But they're playing at Northwestern at Wrigley Field, so I don't think that there's any way that Northwestern can pull it off.
Yeah, it's to me. I look at it this way here. Fitzgerald, the Northwestern head coach, he was all over the thing for head coaching jobs and stuff like that. Last year he stayed at Northwestern. Now his name is not being brought up in any coaching searches and stuff like that because of what's going on at Northwestern. Um, Purdue has got a good running game going, and Northwestern is sorry against the run because they let Duke run on them too. So I mean, to me, I think Northwestern's got a lot of problems in the Big Ten matchup here. I think Purdue is going to go in there into Wrigley Field because it's not really a true home game for Northwestern, even though Northwestern's in Chicago, out in Chicago area. So I mean, but Purdue is in Indiana, which is really close to Chicago. So I think since they're playing on a neutral field, I think half and half of the stadium is going to be half and half. So it really it's not going to be a mixture of fans and there. I mean, to me, Purdue is favored by 11 points in this ball game, and over and under is 47. I think they got the over and under correctly in this one. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I have Purdue running the ball more than passing the ball because Northwestern has a hard time stopping the run. So I see Purdue probably maybe getting 20. I see Northwestern probably getting maybe 3 or
Yeah,
10 at least in this ball game. So I'm going with Purdue in this game. Are you? So are you going with Purdue too?
Purdue. Yes.
All right. So we locked in there on that one. So make sure we got all the games covered there. So let's go. Let's continue on here. We had the 115, 113. We got about 20, 20, 37 minutes left here before we get going here. So let's look at it here. TCU and Kansas is an interesting game on the spot. You got one that's got a coaching search going on. You got one that's trying to win the coaching job, even though Deion Sanders' favorite of her. But I mean, the defense coordinator's done pretty good while he's at the head coaching position of the interim coach. Kansas coming off the big win against Texas. So does Kansas carry the momentum all the way into Fort Worth, Texas, to beat Christian Texan University?
I don't think so. And let me just say this because Kansas is kind of like a toss up team, right? They can either go out there and they can play Oklahoma close, almost beat Oklahoma, or they can go out there and beat Texas. Don't really know what Kansas is going to do. TCU, they're going into TCU. TCU is a very hostile environment. Um, I don't think that they're gonna any momentum will be able to carry into TCU. Now you could say yeah, they beat them and beat Texas in Texas, um, which okay, that's a valid argument. However, it's hard to keep that momentum over and over and over and beat a good team, play a good team close, and then play another good team and just hope to win. Not at your home stadium. On top of that, so I don't think they'll be able to carry the momentum. Now Kansas has though they have looked good. They looked good against Oklahoma. They looked good against Texas, but to carry it against TCU, who sure is kind of in a dumpster fire of a situation right now, I don't think it'll happen.
Well, Kansas looked good against Oklahoma and Texas because they played at home.
Yeah, that's
So
yeah. I mean, but did you see like against Oklahoma though? Did you see like there was like nobody there to start the game, and they
yeah,
literally opened the gates. It was free to get in for everybody, and the
yeah,
game was like Kansas had like a 3-point lead at halftime or something, and the place was full by the third quarter. I thought that was
Yeah,
freaking
some colleges
ridiculous.
do that. I mean,
Yeah.
look at Duke last night. They said they had over one person said they had over 24,000 people there, but that crowd didn't look like 24,000 people. It looked
Yeah.
like 5,000 people all spread around the whole entire stadium. So um, Temple and Tulsa. Who do you have winning this ball game?
um, I think Tulsa wins it because we've seen Tulsa
Yeah.
uh, play a lot of the other good teams and play them close. With that being said, they didn't win one, but they played them close. That shows a lot. With that being said, I'm picking Tulsa to win that game.
So we got Auburn at South Carolina at 7 o'clock.
This is interesting because if Auburn wants to get back into that ranked position before they play Alabama, they need to get a big, demanding win here. With that being said, I think Auburn beats South Carolina. I don't think it's a blowout though. Surprisingly, actually, you know what I mean. I think people think this might be a blowout. Ray, I don't know how you feel about it, but I think it'll be a close game, closer than people think. But I think Auburn wins. I think they get back into that top 25 equation.
Yeah, they're playing in South Carolina. I don't like the stadium. You know, you can ask Dre. That stadium is atrocious. It's downtown, no parking. You got to park in somebody's yard, and sometimes they charge you about $40, $50 to park in their yard for parking.
Making
It's
money.
ridiculous. It's ridiculous. They have a bus that goes in from different places, but it's a downtown stadium. South Carolina. I mean, the Gamecocks. I mean, Beamer's that got it in the right direction. They upset Florida last week. There, so I mean, possibly two in a row. But I think Auburn has enough running game, enough a little bit more better defense than Florida, and better running attack. So I think Auburn comes out with a slight victory, 27-24. Is my score in this one.
Do you think it puts Auburn back in the top 25?
No,
You don't think so?
no, not against South Carolina.
But I mean, do you think if they like blow them out, then they get
Maybe,
back into it? Yeah.
maybe, but if it's a close game, no.
Okay.
Now, if Auburn can win this game and then somehow upset Alabama next week, yeah, then they'd be ranked.
And hey, Auburn's playing at home.
Oh, it ain't one of those kick six,
Oh
off
my
the field goal
gosh, I
thing.
would be so mad. Or 2 years back, whenever Auburn won off of a missed field goal from Bama, like they literally it was like a 23-yard kick or something. Dude just
Yep.
missed it.
Yeah, and if they do win it, they're gonna go. Is Alabama fan gonna go back and cut down the tree or poison the tree like they did the other on the
Oh
pick
yeah,
six?
I don't know. That kick six. The thing about that is like, oh my gosh, it was so. I remember exactly where I was when that happened. I remember exactly where I was. I couldn't tell you what I was wearing. That's a little bit much, but like I remember my exact reaction to when it happened. Oh my gosh, and I was young. I was like, when was it? 2013, 2014.
Something like that.
I was young. I was like 8, 9
Let me
when that
see.
happened.
When that happened, we were underway. Yeah. No, I was out of the Navy then. I was talking to somebody. I was talking to one of my friends. He was an Oklahoma student guy. I said, we were watching the Alabama and the Auburn game together. I said, watch this. He said, what are you talking about? I said, they put a guy underneath the goalpost. That ball's gonna fall short. He's gonna run it back for a touchdown because when they get it that deep, they already got the players already blocking each other, so they might as well just turn around blocking it. And it's just perfect blocking all the way down. And I told him that, and he looked at me like, you lying. I said, no, watch. Soon he kicked it. Soon he started running back and got past the 50-yard line. He looked at me like, how you knew that? I said, because if you play football,
Yeah, it's easier to realize.
I mean, the field goal, it's easier to run back on a field goal kick than it
Yes.
is a punt because the punt team's got to come back and turn around, run back, get where to play. But a field goal, you're right there already, and you're going to know it's going to be short. You got the guy's arm. So when he catches the ball, you're right there already on top of him. It's a whole lot easier to run.
And the thing is, there's only one wave whenever it's a field goal. When it's a punt or a kick, you got like 2, 3 waves.
Yeah.
But I was at my dad's old house. We were in the living room, and my dad is a Kentucky fan, right? So everything's against Alabama, right? So it happens, and he's obviously rooting for Auburn. So my dad said, "Watch what's about to happen." I was like, "What do you mean?" So I look at the TV. Dude's got the ball in his hands, and I was like, "It was Chris Davis." No, Chris Davis.
Yeah, it was Chris Davis.
I believe it was his name. Yeah.
Yeah.
and he took that ball up the left side, and he was gone. And I was waiting for him to say it was out of bounds. There was a block in the back or something, and there was nothing. And I remember he scored, and he turned his back to the home crowd and did this little like roll thing, and everybody dogpiled him. And
Yep.
oh man, it was. I will never forget that. I'll tell you that much. The amount of pain that I felt after that. Oh, it was rough. But I mean, that's one of
Yep.
the most memorable moments of college football history, though, and it's pretty cool that we get to witness that.
Well, we're getting ready here. We got less than 8 minutes before first kickoff at 12 o'clock. We got this is called the speed round of pick 'em. So the last few games, we're going to pick them really fast to get us up to where we can do a last minute talking point here. North Texas versus Florida International.
North Texas.
You got North Texas. I got Florida International on that one. Okay. California and Stanford. This is going to be a repeat of the band jumping the field.
Yeah. Stanford.
Yeah, I got Stanford too. California's just it's awful this year. Really awful. South Alabama at Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Yeah. Hindenburger coming from Virginia Tech. I think Virginia Tech made the wrong move, not cheap, keeping Hindenburger there. Hindenburger is doing. Now Virginia Tech at Miami.
Virginia Tech.
Are you picking Virginia Tech because they fired their head coach?
I'm picking Virginia Tech because Miami is terrible. That's why I'm picking Virginia Tech.
Yeah, Virginia Tech. I'm taking Miami because I think the quarterback. I think the freshman quarterback is that, but it also could. This game could also save Manny Diaz's game for one more year, maybe.
Yeah.
So, but there has been rumors that Wayne Kiffin has been rumored for that if they fire him for that job.
Oh, yeah, I guess I did see that. Yeah. He said he wants to go to Miami, but I was like, that's crazy.
Number 9, Oklahoma State versus Texas Tech.
Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I think Texas Tech has got a little bit of a hard time. They're not on the way back yet. I think a couple more years they could be. How about the Wyoming Cowboys and the Utah State playing in Utah?
Oh my gosh, Wyoming. Let's go Wyoming.
You're taking Wyoming. I'm gonna take the home team. I don't know why, but I'm gonna take the home team. UNL, University of Louisiana Monroe versus LSU.
I'm gonna take LSU. Safe pick. I'm gonna go LSU.
Yeah. New Mexico at Boise State playing on the bluegrass.
Boise State.
Yeah. New Mexico State hasn't played all bad this year, but they haven't played all good either. Now this is the interesting one. Let's go with Colorado State at Hawaii. Playing in Hawaii.
Hawaii had a lot of hype coming into this season. They did.
Yep.
They were pretty hyped up. I'm gonna take Hawaii in this to beat them.
Yep.
At home.
I think Colorado's got to travel a little bit too long to get there.
Yeah.
Time difference.
That's a big time difference. Yeah.
So we got about 6 minutes here. Let's take a little bit of Arizona State at Oregon State, playing in at Oregon State University.
Oregon State's another place where it's kind of hard to play, especially that home crowd gets fired up when their Beavers do good. So, that's one thing to look at. Shoot. I mean, I guess I'll take Oregon State at home. Oregon State at home.
I'm gonna take Herm Edwards and the Arizona State to come up with an upset in that one. I think Herm Edwards has got that program where it needs to be. It's not consistent enough to win, but he's got it there on the outskirts of winning. I think probably about another year and a half, 2 years, you might see Arizona State making a move in that Pac-12 area.
I mean, Oregon State blew out Stanford last week, so
yeah,
I think it shows me enough to pick Oregon State.
But also, you got to worry about too, and same thing with Oregon. You got to worry about the next game after that. That's against those two is the Civil War battle. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's been good. We got less than 5 minutes to kick off time. So today here, do you see besides all our picks? Do you see really any upsets, major upsets on these playoff teams?
I'll say this. Okay, well, I mean, I see Michigan State beat Ohio State. So I guess technically that's an upset. Ohio State is right now in the playoff. I wouldn't be surprised if Oregon gets beat because, like I said, it's just a game where I feel like Oregon might drop. I don't know why I say that. I just do. But I feel like there's a lot riding on the Michigan State Ohio State game, and I think Michigan State comes out and they beat Ohio State. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna stick with it until we'll see what happens. But um, so yeah, I'm gonna go Michigan State over Ohio State for my upset.
Well, I mean, yeah, we all picked Alabama and all that stuff, but it's something to telling me that this game could be closer than what we really think. And to me, I think Arkansas has a little bit of pieces they could put a little bit of pressure on Alabama, but they're playing in Denny Stadium. But if it is going to be an upset, it's going to be a close one, and I think it could be that game. I think Arkansas could go in there and probably pull off an upset by a field goal.
Hmm.
That's if that's if Arkansas can stay with Alabama through
Yeah,
halftime.
that's the key. And that's the thing about Bama. It's like sometimes these teams stick with them until halftime, but then Nick Saban gets a little butt chewing in the locker room, and they come out a different team. But if Arkansas, I'm gonna say this: if Arkansas can stay with them through, let's say third quarter, they go into fourth quarter, it's a close game, then we're gonna put them on upset alert. That's what I'm gonna say.
That is true. And then your Heisman. Who's leading your Heisman candidates right now?
Ooh, go quarterback. That boy from Tuscaloosa. Come on now. Bryce Young is my Heisman. He's so good at everything he does. I don't think there's any way he's the best quarterback in college football right now. Um, Bryce Young's my Heisman right now. What about you?
Well, to me, I play defense. So I like the defensive guy, and I like to see a defensive lineman get rewarded
Oh, that'd
for
be
what he
awesome.
has done. I mean, he has done tremendously for Georgia. I mean, taking on the double block, double team, taking on triple team, taking cut blocks, and
Hmm.
not getting phased by it and putting pressure on people. I mean, Georgia wouldn't have that many sacks if it wasn't for him coming up that middle. Because
Yeah,
it's
that's
kind of
true.
hard. It's kind of hard for a quarter, even you have a scrambling quarterback to get away from a guy who's charging up the middle because you have the two defensive ends on the upside climbing the pocket. So
That's
if you
true.
got that, you got him trying to get through Davis. Davis has been a man, and I mean, they have tried to. I've seen several quarterbacks try to cut between the defensive end and Davis, and it
Yeah.
didn't work out too good. Davis kind of
I
flattened them.
mean, listen, I would say if it was possible for it to happen, but I just don't think the Heisman committee doesn't give enough love to defensive players. But listen, this dude is like 6'5", 350, running as fast as like some quarterbacks.
Yeah,
Like that's crazy to me. Like he chased whose quarterback was it? Uh, it might have been Clemson's DJ. Oh gosh,
Ugalele.
yeah. I was like, I'm not even gonna try. Um, chased him like he chased him from the pocket to the freaking sideline and sacked the dude.
Yep, yep.
And that highlight was everywhere because he ran through. He was a one on one. He just power bull rushed the dude, and then the running back caught him, and that wasn't even. Yeah, he might as well just got out of the way, and then he ran him down. I think that's so phenomenal. I think if it's my heart talking, it's Jordan Davis, but I don't think he'll win it. I think Bryce Young will win it just because he's a quarterback. Quarterbacks normally do win it. So
Yeah, but I mean, it's time for somebody to
come
get
on
some kind of
now, hey,
recognition to the
I'm
defensive line.
telling you,
If
they
he,
need to
I
give it
mean,
to him.
that dude is on the line. He sometimes get double teamed, and he sits there and takes the double team on, and then next thing you know, he's making tackles in the backfield, breaking the double team.
I agree. I mean, I agree with you. I think he needs to be the Heisman, but if I'm speaking from a fan, then I say Jordan Davis. But I'm speaking
Yeah,
from, like how I should be speaking on a show, then I say Bryce Young, just because like it's so rare for a defensive player to win it. Now I think he's done enough to show he's the best player in college football, but I just don't think he is going to get it just because quarterbacks normally do.
yeah. Well, it's getting ready to kick off time here on the All Sports All Plays College Sport Breakdown. We took you all the way up to kickoff time. Like I said, once again, this show has been pre-taped due to some family issues, some death in the family that I will be taking away tomorrow. So we had to go ahead and record the show early. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Thanks for Landon coming on with me today. My name is Ray Cruz. I am the host of the All Sports All Play College Breakdown Show. And until next weekend, peace out.
All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. We talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking